Hello and welcome back to another episode of Podcast 572. As always, I'm your host, Kyle. I'm joined by my two friends, Dan and Matt. We are on episode 60. This is episode 60.
A lot more than I thought we'd probably ever get to.
Man, that's wild. Man.
Yeah. So we're gonna kick it off as we always do. We're gonna talk the games we've been playing. We're gonna start with talking about, and spoiler, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, because I finished
right.
it.
Yes, we can finally
have this discussion about it. So heavy spoilers, because we're going to talk the end of it. I mean, yeah, it's been 2 months, but the thing I'll say is, like, the biggest spoiler of the game is, like, the thing that you think happens does happen, but it's
not in the way you think it happens.
Not in the way that you think it happens, but also, like, I was confused that when you said, like, it felt kind of fumbled until now that I've seen it.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm like, no, you were absolutely right. Like, it just, here's what I don't like.
Just talk about it.
Okay. So here's how I understand what's going on. So at the end of that game, once you get done with the temple, you come out, and then Sephiroth kind of flies down. And you have, like, what I'd call, like, it's almost like the end of the third Lord of the Rings movie. There's, like, a couple different fake outs of her death where it's just like, just
it's
fucking
weird
get it
because
over
you can't tell what's actually happening.
No, like they stretch that way too far. Right. Where I'm like, just get it over with, like, at some point.
So like I had talked about before, my theory was always there were, like, two worlds running alongside.
I kind of wish that was what it was.
Well,
at this point.
Well, here's the thing, though. So, and she was aware of what's happening in both, and that part is true because, like, she clearly can see the fracture of, like, these worlds, like, breaking apart. Which is, if you go back to before the game came out, where they had edited the end of the last game.
Yeah, they edited.
And now the context of saying she doesn't like the sky makes sense because she sees this giant crack in the sky.
Exactly. Yeah.
Of these two worlds, kind of, joining together. So the part where she dies, it plays out much like the original game where Cloud can't control himself, and then he comes down, and then you stop it from happening. Or do you?
Yeah.
So that's what the part I didn't like.
My understanding is
it's like
the way I looked at it is almost like it's like a multiverse thing.
Yes,
because it also seems like Zack's in a different world as well.
Yes, there are. So, and I think what you're meant to understand is there is your world, the normal world, and there is an alternate world where Zack did not die.
And then obviously an alternate world where.
But I think that's the only real change, because everything else, if you think about, like, what happened in the first one, he drags Cloud back. All that are, Cloud wasn't there to do all this other stuff, so explain why they got caught. That's the main, like, point of where it broke.
Okay.
It's where it seems like, anyway. And then the end of this game is these two worlds literally, like, crashing into each other during this final boss fight. Because the final boss fight stuff is cool, where, like, you're going through different phases, and, like, one part you play as Cloud and Zack. What you play is Cloud and Zack together, which is amazing.
Which is cool. That's a good part
of it. And then it breaks out, and then you only play as Zack. But then, like, at the end, it's Cloud and Aerith. But didn't she just die? Well, it's the other one. And so,
but that leads into the part of it that the biggest part of it that I don't like, which is I don't like the fact that they're still conversing. I don't like that because
doesn't make sense.
It cheapens her death.
Okay. It cheapens it because it's like, well, she didn't die in her universe, but she's dead in this one.
So, like, that
but only Cloud can see it.
That last cutscene of the game where they're, like, out in the field And then your buddies fix up the tiny Bronco. Like, that's one of the most impressive cutscenes I've ever seen in a video game. It looks amazing compared to almost any other cutscene in that game. I don't know how it's possible, but it does. But then I'm let down by the fact that, like, this entire time, it's almost like he's schizophrenic. Yeah, like he's having this conversation with her, but nobody else can see her.
Because not only is he talking to her across universes or however you want to justify it, he seems to ignore the fact that everyone else clearly thinks she's dead.
Yeah.
And he's just like okay with it and doesn't think it's weird and doesn't interact with anybody about her. And then it turns out he has the black materia in his pocket. He's just like, oh, cool. And then he looks up and he sees the skies.
Yeah, and that's kind of the big reveal at the end.
But is this, does this come back to, well, he's crazy because of his body's degenerating because of the Mako stuff. So I think that's just the part is they don't explain it and they don't explain it on purpose just to make it be super ambiguous.
Do you think that they had this idea mapped out, or do you think that they came up with it and that's why they went back and changed that line?
I think it probably didn't end this way originally and it got changed.
Okay.
Because the changing of that line is only, I think it's only there to explain, I think, why Cloud sees the sky at the end of the game. Not even necessarily her.
Yeah. Because
you already know that from the first game, she has this like game knowledge where like she knows things that are going to happen. It's almost so I don't think it's for her benefit. I think it's for him. I just don't like that it's not clear. Like for gameplay purposes, she's clearly probably dead. And the other thing I don't like about it is it completely leaves the door open in the next one for them to just be like, we can bring her back.
Yeah, and that's the other part I get to is like, so what's if this last battle was him being able to pull through and fight with Zack and Aerith, what's to say the end of this whole thing is, well, he pulls them both through and they're not dead actually. So
when we were talking about it the last time before you finished this, you kept talking about how you think it's going to be called Reunion. And
I think it clearly is because
you think it's about reunion of like Sephiroth and his mother and everything, but in reality, I think it's the reunion of the two worlds.
I think so too,
because the end of the game is the worlds colliding.
Yeah,
for a moment where you're fighting Sephiroth and you're both taking him down, and then when you beat him, it separates the worlds.
Yeah,
and so Zack and Aerith go back off to theirs. And you go off to yours, but he can still like see Aerith across universes because he has this broken thing. And that goes back to the scenes like in the hotel where Aerith is talking to someone and you don't know who it is.
Yeah.
Because she can talk across these things. And clearly Red can do it too.
Yeah.
Because he always was around whenever she would have these conversations or like one-off things where, gee, that's weird kind of a thing.
Well, and they even show at the end when he's sitting with Tifa and she's crying in that field, like it kind of seems like he can also sense that
there's something else. Right?
Yeah, like he can definitely sense it. So
I don't like it because they don't commit either way.
They don't commit either way, and like I don't know, for me, like
because there's that split second where he saves her, and you're like, damn, they did change it.
Yeah,
and then no, they didn't.
And then I don't know, like the promise of this thing was a remake of the game. And I like, we talked about like, well, maybe it's not the remake that you think it is, but that's also not the end I want for this because that is like the most famous video game death. Like people that don't play video games know that.
Right.
Like that's a huge thing when it happened. And like, it bothers me.
We talked about how at the end of the first one, obviously the end of the first one is wildly different. You fight.
Yeah.
Destiny itself, and when it's over, it sets it up where anything is possible. And then it turns out that the second game follows the same path of the original like 90% of the time. There's obviously the part 90%. Where like Tifa goes into the live stream instead of Cloud,
which
is super weird. Obviously like the whispers are still here, and that's doesn't make as much sense, but I guess it kind of does. I wish they would have committed and been like, no, she's dead. Or no, he stopped her, because that was a huge moment when it seemed like he stopped it.
It kind of seemed like they were going to go that way.
Sephiroth has to back off, and then you're fighting with her, and you're like, "Oh my god, we did it!" But we didn't do it.
Yeah. Maybe I ended it, and then it made me want to replay the original. So like at some point I'm going to do a run of the original.
The original?
It's been
97?
97. Yeah, it's been a while. So like
I did that not too long ago.
The last time I did that was probably 2018, 2019.
Yeah.
So the PS4 version. So
right.
But it may be because I'm like, no, I kind of want to go back now and see, because it's been long enough where like I want to see these certain moments as they originally were and stuff. So because like I remember good chunks of it, but there are certain things that I have forgotten. So, but yeah, I
that final, I don't know. It soured me a little bit on the end of it.
It soured me, a little bit on like, well,
and it makes me, what are we going to do next? More upset that the next one is 3-4 years away, because the first one at least felt like you had finished the game. Yeah. You had finished that part of the game. This one, it was clear this was always where it was going to end. Yeah. But it's more of a brutal cliffhanger to have to wait this long.
It's an Empire Strikes Back type thing. Yeah.
Big time.
It is. So, especially for those, like, there are people out there that never played the original version of this, and they'll play this, and they didn't know that was going to happen. So,
yeah.
That'll be even more of a crush.
You'll be even more thrown for a loop when you don't get an answer of what actually happened.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't even know how that. I don't even know how that would feel for somebody that's never played the original and played this. And like, that's a totally different feeling than you and I playing the game 25 years ago and seeing Eric die, and then now.
Right, but then you can immediately continue the game. And
that's the other part. It's like, sure, but there's still another third of the game left. So,
well, and like we talked about it too. Like, what is the rest of the game? Like, where are we going now?
There's so much into this game, and like, I'm not one that normally would complain there's too much content in a game, but when you're splitting this into 3 parts, now I question, like, okay, well, how much is going to be in that third game?
But they somehow made a lot of content.
But it can't be as long as this one.
I don't think
it will. Like, it probably will be like the first one, like about 50 hours.
What I think they might do is because, so like Wutai is obvious.
Yeah.
Because we talked about it all the time, we didn't do it. And we specifically don't do anything with Sid or Vincent.
No.
And, Vincent turns out to be a little more important, especially towards the end.
Yeah.
But obviously he has his own entire story. So so that's a whole. We could make that 8 to 10 hours if we wanted to.
We got Sid's story.
We have to go back to Midgar, but there aren't that many other places left. Like Bone Village. Are we even going to bother to do this little mining game? Like know. There's pieces that it's. Are we going to do it? We have to go. Yeah, I
don't know. It's weird. It's really weird. So
overall, good.
I'll say this: before I got to the end, I was going to give it an A-. I ended up giving it a B+ because of the end, because I just soured me a little bit on it.
I would say it was probably 9 and then 8.5 once.
Yeah,
the whole thing went down.
Just a hair because of that. Because I'm like,
maybe it's better in context if you're playing all 3 of them back to back.
And that's the thing. We won't know for another 3-4 years.
200 hours of Final Fantasy VII.
That's what it's going to be when it's done.
But we won't know for a long time.
We're not going to know. So
until we get the trilogy released on PS6, you'll never know.
There you go.
I was glad to have it done because that was a nice 160 gigs off my PlayStation.
Yeah, God.
Because that install is insane.
That's one of the craziest ones.
But yeah, so that we'll say definitively end spoilers for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So other stuff that I played, that pools game, you heard about this? You know what that is?
Yeah.
Okay. The liminal spaces, like, just it's really weird. Like, it does have a creepy factor to it. There is definitely something going on. I played the first level, and I will go back to play more. I probably want to stream it actually because I like it that much.
Is it procedurally generated or no?
I don't think so.
Okay.
It's right now it's 6 levels, but there's weird stuff in it. Like, I got to a part, so it's like 6 different mazes is what I would say is what it is. You start at one end of the maze, you have to make it out to the other end. But there are weird things. Like, I turned around a corner and you're walking through like this pool section. All of a sudden you look down and there's like a ladder with somebody's hands and their hands just disappear. What's going on there? But you never see that again.
Okay.
at least in the first level. Then they have the other, like, I'd say tinier. I wouldn't say it's a jump scare or anything like that, but like you'll walk around a corner. Here's this huge fucking rubber duck just hanging out.
Okay.
Stuff like that. They'll make you go through parts that are just completely pitch black to get to the other side. That's kind of creepy. But it has this like really cool, creepy vibe to it, but it's not, I wouldn't say it's a standard jump scare game.
Right.
And you're not being chased by anything, but there is clearly something going on because of those hands I saw. So something is happening. And I'm sure as I play through more of it, there's something weird like that in every level. But it's cool. It's like $8. It looks amazing. Like however they got it to work visually, it looks really cool. So that's worth it. That's out on Steam right now. The Fallout 4 next gen update. I
played a couple hours of this too.
Okay. I can talk about it for both systems. So I mean, it's publicly known now is a disaster on the PlayStation for a bit. And that's just because like still they have that, the way it works there is, the PS4 version, you have to download the PS5, you buy it essentially through the store for free, obviously, if you have the license, and then it downloads, but you have the PS4 version on, and then once you can get the PS5 version downloaded, you can delete the PS4 version. You never have to do that again.
Other games have done that in the past,
but like it's still annoying. I feel bad for people that maybe have it, because my assumption, I never played the PS4 version, so I don't have any saves or anything, but don't you have to port your saves over? No, it's not that hard. You basically just load up the PS5 version and you can just like bring your save in. But the only thing is that doesn't pop trophies. So if you're halfway through the game and it's stuff you got trophies for in the PS4 version, you can't get those on this save. You'll have to make a new save. Start a new game. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. And I'll say once again, like I did the same thing for the Xbox version, and it's another smart delivery win where it just downloads the game and there's all your stuff. There's no other versions of it, like. So, I mean, the bummer there is like if you're somebody who wanted to start over and get a new set of trophies, you can't do that in the Xbox with achievements
because it's one game.
The same thing. Yeah. So, but I always like the simplicity of the smart delivery thing. So,
well, it's much easier.
So it just works, as Todd Howard would say. But actually playing the update, I've had no issues.
I haven't had a single problem.
I haven't had any like freezes or lockups or anything. I made a new character in the PS4 or PS5 version now, so I'm running through it there. I don't know if I'm gonna continue it right now. Like I'm also in this weird spot, which will, as we continue down the list of what I played, we'll go through. So like I did that. I played like maybe 4 or 5 hours of it over the weekend, because I was at this point of Final Fantasy where I knew I was like, okay, I'm at the end of this game. I know this is going to be like a 5 to 6 hour stretch. And it was.
Yeah. The final push,
the final push.
Yeah, it is.
I was at the demon door. So after you get to that point, then it's like cutscene. Yeah.
That was funny. It's
then it's cutscene, and then, the 9 versions of Sephiroth or whatever. So like that took a while between all the cutscenes and stuff. So I knew that. So that's why I was like, well, I'll wait till when I have time to just commit to that, which is why I did that a different night. So I did, like 4, 5, 6 hours of Fallout 4. And then for whatever reason, I don't know why, I got a hankering to play Kingdoms of Amalur again, the Re-Reckoning.
Right.
And I saw the DLC. I've never played the DLC that came out because they recently made DLC for that game, like in the last couple of years, specifically for this Re-Reckoning version. So that was on sale on the PlayStation Store. And I already had the plus. It was a plus game at some point there. So downloaded that, made a character, played like an hour. And I'll probably keep going on that because I've always really liked that game, even back when it was out on the 360. It's a really cool, underrated RPG. And then obviously after all this, and then going back and forth with Matt, I'm like, I just don't know what I want to play now after Final Fantasy. I don't want to start another RPG right now. I was like, I could do Persona 3 because that's still on Game Pass, but I don't want to jump into another 100-hour RPG.
That's
right
a
now.
lot.
And I'm not like jumping at the bit to play Stellar Blade right now. I have it. I bought it, but I haven't even. The only reason I opened it is because the disc was loose, and that pissed me off. So I opened it, and that drives me nuts. So I opened it, it's sitting there, but I haven't tried it yet. So I went back to House Flipper 2. So that's kind of been just my chill. I'm gonna fix up these houses,
Man, flip them houses, bro.
Yeah. So then that and just supermarket simulator, trying to earn enough money to open another part of the store so I can expand it. And I think I'm going to reset everything. See if I can get the flow of the store better, huh?
Oh, like reorganize it.
Yeah, like I'm literally good. Because one thing that's really cool about that game is like when you start a new day, you literally are frozen in time until you hit the open sign. So it just is 8 a.m. until you hit the open sign. So you have endless time to do whatever you need to do, like buy stock, whatever. So I'm one of these days, I'm just, when I have the money to open that next part, I'm literally going to just like pull all this shit out of the store and just redo the entire thing.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll stream that. I don't know.
There you go. Yeah. Do that.
So that I just want one of these updates for that game. Like give me the thieves, give me the CCC TV where I can watch it. Give me the online delivery. Like I'm super into that. So, but yeah, that pretty much covers what I've been playing. So I will kick it over to you, Dan.
Well, I continued everybody's favorite game, Forespoken, a little bit more.
Ooh.
Only because I'm indebted to you for this game. It's still absolute trash. Like so when I left off last time, the next thing I have to do is go to, so there's like 4 bad guys, like 4 bosses essentially, right? And you're going to have to go kill each one of them. It's almost got like a weird, I was thinking about this yesterday, like a weird Majora's Mask kind of a thing.
Okay.
So like you go, there's one boss in each corner of the map kind of a thing. Just making it there took hours. Because
so, like, in that map, are you just running and doing parkour? Like there's no like horse or anything or
no
like
horse.
Car
it's all parkour, dude. It's all parkour and 6 parkour moves where like
sounds terrible.
You jump and like when you land, you jump some more. They arbitrarily. So I'm going to like the south boss, right?
Okay.
They arbitrarily break up the areas, which are each like huge empty nothingness. When you get to this one point, it's like, oh, so the break is the bad thing, right? The break, which is like the environment or something that's gone to hell. You get to this part where like it's like, oh, the break is worse in here because of course it is. So they do this whole thing where like you have to jump through this like, I don't even know what you would call it, like almost like a lake or something, and it goes down, and then you're in another area where the break is even worse.
Oh Lord!
And then you have to go through this, and then you go to the next area, and it goes, well, now there's these new things called like break storm. I don't even know if that's what it's called, but that's basically what it is. We're like, it's like a lightning storm, and during this, like super powerful enemies spawn, and yet you can't beat, so it's just run away kind of a thing. And then they get through that, and then it's like, well, now there's this new thing where this area is built in such a way where if you fall, it's going to be a real bitch for you to get back up and go around. And it's just like they keep introducing these arbitrary ways to make traversal
harder.
Yeah, trying to make it quote unquote more interesting.
Off a little bit. Yeah, okay.
They're trying to make it more fun for you because you have to figure out how to do it. It's not fun because nothing in this game is fun.
Awesome.
The worst part is like, so I finally get to the boss and she's in like her castle, and when you get there, there's like, oh, which way are we going to take out the castle cuff? Because we're talking my bracelet the whole time.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you can go here, here, or here. And you're like, okay, so maybe there's a little bit of variety. No, there's not. You go to the first part, it's like, oh, it's blocked off. I guess you got to go this way. Wonderful. Oh, this is a way to go in, and you go up here. And it's so terrible. And I finally get into the fight that boss. Absolute joke of a fight. It took me no time at all. I didn't die. I didn't even get close to dying.
I heard you got another bracelet?
I got I got her bracelet because I killed her.
Okay.
So then the funny part is I've told you last time where you're running around killing all these like break zombies, which are people that used to be alive, but they've been corrupted. We've got no problem doing that and saying cool words about how like, fuck you, I killed you kind of a thing, and like blowing shit up. I killed this chick, the boss. Mind you that I'm calling her a bitch all like throughout the fight. Like it's just so like tone deaf. And then when you kill her, there's a cutscene of you moping, talking to the bracelet like, I can't believe I killed someone. What the hell are you talking about?
Awful.
You just cussed this chick up and down before we fought her, killed her, and now you feel bad? It doesn't make any sense. And then the bracelet has to talk you down where it's like, she was going to kill you too. And you're like, yeah, I guess that's fine. And then it's over.
Awful.
And then and then you leave. No. And then now that I have her bracelet that merged with my bracelet, I have a hook shot now, essentially, which is,
more traversal
stuff. And my next goal was, I guess, to go back to the castle. I don't know. I turned it off after that because I was like, that's enough.
Roughly how many hours in are you?
Oh, God.
At this point?
Too many. I would say probably.
And how many do you have left, do you think?
I'm probably around 8 to 10 already.
Okay.
How many I have left, I don't know, because I don't know what the pacing is like for the other sections.
Is there like a shitty collectible or something in this game too? Okay.
Yeah, there's tons of them.
Okay.
There's like monuments I have to visit. I have to collect like fairy cats. I'm serious. They're called familiars, but like you go to these monuments and then like you find a cat, and then from now on it just kind of follows me around. But because the way the game acts, like I don't always see it, so sometimes it'll like float past the screen in front of you. Awesome. It'll freak me out because I'll think it's like an enemy or something.
Awesome.
I'm starting at this point. I think I'm just going to start running from as many fights as possible.
I mean, it doesn't seem like there's a benefit to joining them.
They're really so fighting gets you XP, and when you level up, you get mana, which you can use to unlock spells. But you can also just find mana like on the ground and pick it up. At this point, I think I'm gonna try to avoid fights as much as possible, just to try to speed stuff up.
Okay.
Sometimes you have to do them because it's like an arena battle to unlock a necklace or something. But fuck! Oh, I went back and I turned in some pictures to those kids from my sick moan, and now I got to go take more.
Awesome,
great. What else was? I was telling you yesterday. Just more of the conversation they have. She says. He'll be like, oh, I sense an enemy nearby. And she'll go, okay, got it. I'll stay frosty. She says this unironically. Like, who are you?
It just sounds like a horribly written game.
It's terrible.
It's just bad.
Everything about it is bad. Like like I said, the whole boss fight and like the boss is just her screaming at you and you calling her a bitch for like 10 minutes. It's just like, wow. Yeah, I don't get it.
Is that game rated M?
It has to be. I'm fucking killing people and swearing all the time.
Okay.
Remember, she just moved to whatever with her fucking mind or whatever. It's terrible. Okay, so there's that. That's my check-in on that. This game's probably going to take me months just because I cannot stand playing.
I mean, there's only so much until you're just like, I can't do this right now.
I finished that boss, and then it was like, here's your hook shot. And I was like, cool, I'm out. I can't do it anymore right now.
See you in a week.
Yeah. Other than that, for my cooldown palette cleanser, I bought We Love Katamari Reroll because it was digital for like $7 or whatever, and I love Katamari games. Yeah, it's Katamari. I love Katamari. It's fun.
Yeah, and
you can play it all the time.
That's the remaster of the 360 one.
It's a remaster of the second PS2 one.
Second PS2 one. Okay.
Yes. I don't know.
The 360 one was beautiful Katamari.
Yeah. And then PS3 was Katamari Forever.
That's right.
I think I own them all in some form, but yeah, I mean Katamari's great. You can play that forever. And this one's a little compared to all the Katamari games, it's probably one of the easier ones to finish every level because even the ones that have like requirements, they're not as strict as some of the other other games have been. I also played some more of that I should say I went back and finally decided to finish it, that Back to the Future game.
You talking about the Telltale one?
Yes, because I never finished it, and I had my PS3 hooked up, and I was like, maybe I should just do it to get some trophies and play through it.
It's not hard. None of those are, though.
It's not hard at all, but it's fun to play through just because like they do a really good job with obviously like the Marty impersonator, and it is Christopher Lloyd and all that stuff, and the story is good enough. That game runs like shit on PS3.
It didn't run good when it came out.
I don't think it ran well on anything, but it is terrible.
But again, also you have to remember the that's that engine that they
but this wasn't like the end of that engine. This was like in the middle.
Early. Yeah.
So it's the weird pausing. The controls are bad. Where
it's like weird hitches.
You'll go through like a screen transition where instead of walking left, now you're walking towards a screen. But if you're still holding left from before, it remembers that directional input and keeps going the wrong way. So you completely let go of it, let him stop, and then choose to move again. It's really frustrating. And just like, how could someone design it this way? I finished 3 out of the 5 chapters so far. It's fun because like a chapter only takes an hour and it's not overly complicated. Like you can figure it out pretty easy. But that's just something else I decided to play as more of a, it's not Forespoken. And then,
and
then the last thing I did, this is rare because I did it again, but I have some more pickups.
Okay.
Because I decided through the saga of Biggs 2, I finally decided I'm just going to buy it. And
you bought a copy of Biggs 2?
Yes. So I went online and I went to LukeyGames.com. I don't know if you've never been there. I think I showed it to you. Matt, have you been there before?
I think I have a long time ago, but when you brought it back up, I went back and looked through it.
Yeah. So that site's good for the most part. Like regular random stuff is appropriately priced. Anything expensive is insane.
Yeah.
Like it's to the point where I almost don't believe it. Like there must be something wrong or it's a bad listing or something. But so I got my Biggs 2 and then I decided to order a couple other things just to kind of see. The good thing about Lukey Games 2 is
they tell you up front if it has like the case
you can pick conditions, but it's also free shipping over $25, which is good.
Oh, nice.
That's good.
And it has returns, no questions asked.
Yeah.
So if you got a game and you didn't want it or it's the wrong thing or not in the condition you want, they pay shipping for you to return it, which is rare. Like, so I decided, I was like, you know what?
With all that stuff now.
Yeah. So I decided I would take a chance and order some cartridge games too, just to see the quality of what they have.
Okay.
Worst case scenario, I could return it.
Yeah.
So I'll just run down what I got quick. So I did get my Biggs 2. Look at this. It's actually complete. It's in fantastic shape. I tried playing it for a little bit. The timing on it is so insanely different from MLB The Show that I am terrible at this game right now until I relearn the timing. It was frustrating. And especially since it's on, PS3 and doesn't run great in the first place. And I decided when I went for cartridge stuff, I tried to get like a mix of stuff just to kind of see what the quality would be.
Yeah.
So one of the first things I got was this game called Prophecy for Game Boy because it was cheap. Why not? It's cool. And then a Super Nintendo game, I got Barkley Shut Up and Jam because it was cheap. Just a game I don't have. I should say the quality of all these games, phenomenal.
Okay.
Like shockingly good for an online website where returns are free. You would maybe not necessarily expect everything to be great.
Yeah.
But it actually was. Mission Impossible for NES.
Oh, wow. You don't see that every day.
Well, it was just a regular game and I don't have it. So whatever. And it was cheap. The thing about this one too, is I can tell it was cleaned because it does have like some like remnants of it was cleaned on it. Yeah. But that's good because it tells me they clean their games.
Yeah.
And then these last two I got, I only bought cartridge only, but it's because I already had the box and manual.
Okay.
So this was to complete these. So I finally got, you see that Driver for Game Boy Color.
Driver for Game Boy Color. That's
which is a game I had, obviously, because I had the box and manual and must have either lost it or sold it or something. But I got the cartridge back and now it's complete.
That's cool.
And then I had the box and manual for this for a long time too.
Episode 1 Racer.
This is one of those Rumble ones where it's the big one where you put the battery in it. Yep. The only thing I'll say weird about this cartridge I got from them, it had a battery in it. Maybe don't ship them with AA or AAA batteries in it. Because I don't know how old that is.
That's probably just an oversight, but yeah.
It could have just been they just went and grabbed it off the shelf. But again, the important thing about this one too, it did have the battery cover. Because the thing about a lot of these is that little piece comes off where like it holds the battery in place and it's broken or lost or whatever.
Yeah.
So this was
you see that all the time.
Tiny bit extra risk, but it was complete. It worked, and I tested it quick on my analog. It works great. So those are my little pickups. So Lukey Games, I can say that
check that out. Yeah.
I recommend it for common filler games.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's one of those things where I don't think I would ever buy anything expensive off there just because the prices are crazy.
Yeah, stuff that you're not gonna go nuts on, but
right. But I needed a copy of Driver for Game Boy Color. I think I paid $6. Okay. To complete it, sure.
Not bad.
I would recommend them. Lukey Games, Lukie Games. It's one of a couple sites I've ordered from in the past. Another one I've been to before. I think I'm going to get the name wrong, but it's like PNP Games. It's a Canadian place, but
we looked at that once.
Yeah, I ordered from them once because you remember Xenoblade 2 for Switch? They did that like expansion thing, and it was like you couldn't find it. It was like they must have made like no copies. For whatever reason, that place had some for like retail price.
Yeah,
so I bought one from there.
Yeah,
but even from Canada, it was really easy shipping from there. So those are two places I've used before that have both been really good. I've never ordered from Double Jump just because I haven't found anything on there that I want to buy yet. Not that I don't want to. I will say their website acts weird.
Their website.
When you try like filter stuff, it doesn't seem like it filters things properly. But that's it for me.
But you, Matt?
So I'm still playing Dave the Diver. That game is expanded, man. It's very good. Like, I'm shook at how good this game actually is. Like, I know people were talking about it for a while there, but like,
yeah, when it first came out,
it's so good. Like, it's grabbed me, and like, I'm just like, I play it whenever I get free time because it's like, it's also like chill. Like, it's just cool to like swim through the ocean and fucking fish because, like, you know. How often do you really get to do that as an adult?
Yeah, I sat on something because I have it. I bought it for the PS5, but I haven't started it yet.
It'll suck you in, man. I'll tell you that right now. And then I decided I wanted to just kind of like play a random game, so I decided to load back up The Last of Us, first one.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I joked with you the other day, and I said the good one, right?
Yeah. So I'm not far into that one.
Okay.
But it's good. I mean, it's good to just kind of replace something I remember and not something that'll just kind of like drive me crazy. So I'm really looking forward to playing through that again. And then this will kind of lead into, the first issue or the first story we have.
Okay.
Helldivers 2. I was online and I was watching a TikTok, and this dude was using a different gun, something I hadn't seen before. So I jumped on and I wanted to check it out, and I ended up buying the gun and just playing with it. And it's cool. It's interesting because from the first time I played it to the game now, there are small, subtle changes to it that just shows you the devs have been continuously trying to work on something.
Yeah, and it seems like every week they put out a new patch and they might nerf something or they might change something.
And something really cool, I didn't notice it until the other day. So when you get done playing a mission, all of your Helldivers will, like, you can only have 4 people, but they'll all be like in a line and just kind of like in the very back of the ship, just kind of all together. But there's a part of the background that says under construction, and I never caught that until like yesterday, and I was like, that's actually pretty interesting, like, because like in the background you see a smaller ship, so it's kind of like what's going on back there to kind of open it up. All in all, man, I love Helldivers 2.
Yeah,
I think it's such a good game.
Now that I'm done and free, because I don't have anything pressing to play until mid to end of June, which is Shin Megami.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The like expanded version. Cannot wait for that. That is probably my next RPG I will dive right into. So, because I love the last one I played 4 on the 3DS. Love that game. Put like 100 hours into that. It's a great 3DS game. So that's like my next RPG. But like now I have time. I need to. We need to play Helldivers.
Yeah,
I need to play Helldivers.
Absolutely love it. So. Like it's nice to just finally get a game that you could just team up with not just random people, but people and like everybody's playing it. So it's very solid. And like I said, like there's just small subtle changes in it that just make it better than everything else I've really focused on this year.
For sure.
But leading into the first story.
Leading into so we'll immediately kick right over to news. And this kicked off today. So this is a hot, fresh thing. And we like Matt, you and I have talked about it because we were talking about it at work, but like we both very much have an opinion on it. But so the whole thing that happened is Sony has basically now come out and they've said, hey, they're going to force everybody to sign up for a PlayStation account like to link it or whatever,
Yeah.
which they're saying is for security reasons.
Sure.
And they're trying to say like it was always going to be that way, but they delayed it because, you know, the launch of this game was chaotic because they didn't expect this many people to play the game. So that is going over as well as you would expect for the PC crowd, because as I told you earlier, Matt, like the PC crowd is the most entitled crowd of all of gaming.
But it's just so
when it comes to this stuff, well, and that's the thing. It's like for someone like you or someone like me, like I have every system, I have every account. Like it doesn't bother me. Like I don't care. So, but I understand at the same time, the example I gave you earlier was like, you know, I don't buy games that are made by EA on Steam, because in that case, if I'm going to go load it up on Steam, then I have to load a separate client on top of Steam, which is stupid. So that's not what's going on here, but it's similar. Like where you have to sign into some other account.
But like I told you earlier, I mean, you sign up for every fucking thing. You go to the grocery store, you sign up for shit. You go to like your barber shop, you're signing up for shit. Like, why does it matter if you're just registering a PSN account to link to the game? It's not like you're having to log into Sony to go play the game. You're just linking the account up. Like I don't know,
but the argument is if I'm just someone who plays on Steam and I don't have a PlayStation, I don't have a PlayStation account, I shouldn't be forced to sign up for an account for your company so I can play a game on my computer.
Yeah, like, I mean, I get what you're saying, but it's not like I said, it's just not like you have to. You're not doing anything else with it, though.
That's the other thing. Is like it's only published by Sony. They didn't develop the game or anything like that.
It'd be different if it was a Sony game.
Yeah, like, I understand that for like the Horizon port or like the Ghost of Tsushima one's coming out because it's going to actually have trophies.
Right.
So like I get having a PlayStation account for those games. Whereas here it's just like to come out now and all of a sudden say like it's for security reasons just seems odd.
I mean, I think it is
not truthful.
I think what it is it's trying to get them to boost account numbers.
Yeah,
I think that's part of it, but I also think like look at how Microsoft does everything. Like any Microsoft game that you want to play, you have to sign into a Microsoft account.
That's true.
Even if
you have to do it on Minecraft,
if you do it on the Switch for Minecraft. If you have you know, Halo or any of those ports on Steam that are at like Sea of Thieves, whatever. If you bought that through Steam, you still have to sign into a Microsoft account to play that. I don't know how it works on PS5 for Sea of Thieves, but I would imagine you probably have to have a Microsoft account.
But wouldn't the counter argument would be that was always the case, and that was always
the case here, and that's the problem with this is to come out 3 months
dropping
later
it after the game's been a phenomenal success.
Yeah, and I mean, I think haven't they given a date of like May 30th? I want to say it's like it's like a couple weeks, and then hey, it's not going to work if you don't do this. So.
I read an argument too where it was like, what if I live in a country where I can't get a PlayStation account?
Yeah,
because those do exist.
That does exist.
I can't play a game I paid for.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Well, that I can understand. Like, I really can. I don't think review bombing the game because you're mad because you have to create a PSN. But I mean, we're back to the same thing. The PC crowd is entitled, and that's what they want to do.
We're talking about the Steam crowd.
Yeah, the Steam crowd.
Remember the crowd that hated Steam when it originally came out?
Right.
Remember when you bought Half-Life 2 and had to make that Steam account? People were pissed.
It's just like for me, I linked my account up the very first day I played, and I didn't even think about it because to be real with me, I just wanted to play the game. Like, fuck it. It's a good fucking game. Like, just fucking make a PSN account and just fucking deal with it. Like, it's so aggravating.
So we'll see where it lands. I'd be interested to see. I'm very interested to see if Sony actually backtracks on it because they don't backtrack on stuff very often.
Yeah. I don't think they want to.
I don't think they want it, but I mean, look at all the people that were pissed about when the prices of Plus went up. Did they backtrack on that? No, they just dealt with it.
And I think Dan's right in the fact that Sony's just doing it to boost their account numbers. I mean, think so. That's fine. It's what the fuck? It just doesn't matter to me.
The next news story we got an email about it, and this blew up yesterday. I think it started blowing up a little bit, maybe Wednesday into yesterday. So this individual did reach out, did put in redacted. They're not a GameStop employee, so that's important to note. This person, so it comes from Brad from Redact, says, "Hey guys, not a GameStop person, but I've listened to your show a little bit, and I wanted to shed light on something that's potentially devastating to the retro game community, and it involves limited run games. Recently, Limited Run shipped out 2 3DO releases, Plumbers Don't Wear Ties and D the Game. Both games are actually just printed on cheap CDRs. That's right. They literally just printed these on cheap-ass CDR discs. I've enclosed proof of this situation in the email. I've tried reaching out to some channels, but anything really large will likely ignore this because of the stigma Limited Run has with the retro game YouTube community. If you choose to share this, thank you. I love your podcast. So he sent a Twitter thing, which I've looked at.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah, and basically, like the discs, from my understanding, the discs do not work in the system.
There's a chance they don't work.
There's a chance they don't.
Because essentially these are just burned copies of games. And it's up to your hardware specifically if it'll work or not. And especially with like 3DOs. Remember, 3DO is that weird console where there's like multiple people made them.
Yeah.
Like I have 2 different 3DOs.
Yeah.
So from my understanding, what happened was it did work on their like in-house testing units, and they decided, oh, I guess that's good enough. It showed up. But the other main problem with this is these printed ones versus pressed CDs, which is how if you buy a disc game for a console today, you get a pressed version of it so that the data is permanent. Printed ones don't last as long.
No.
Yeah. Because it's just written on there by the laser.
These, I believe, are $80 too. Like they're not cheap.
I mean, we're talking limited run, so everything's a premium at this place. Everything's $80, everything's $20 to ship, and you might get it in 2 years if we feel like it. Because I still have stuff I ordered from them that I have not gotten, and God knows when I'll get it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I
have everything.
That's why I stopped. This company's insane.
I stopped after the Zombies Ate My Neighbors debacle. I had some other stuff I had ordered after that, obviously, but that was the one that triggered me enough. Where I'm like, why did that take 2 years?
Right.
Yeah. You know, and I'm reminding no updates for almost 2 years.
They don't update if you email in asking about it. They give you a canned response and ignore it. Yeah. They just don't care.
Probably ChatGPT's response now.
Probably.
Which is one reason why it blows my mind that the retro community is so big behind limited runs. No. Like if it takes 2 years to get something out to me after I paid for it, nah, that's just too much.
But I think anybody with a brain who's dealt with these people knows that they're terrible.
Yeah,
agreed.
But the problem
is now you're printing it out on CDRs. Nah, man. Like,
but the problem is now it's people like Bethesda and Microsoft are getting them to do the dirty work. And make games for them, which is only making it worse because now they have the corporate backing to put out shitty copies of stuff at a premium price that you might eventually get, maybe. Like that company sucks for a lot of other reasons too. Remember the whole community manager thing?
Very, very
the whole
bad.
thing. The whole place is just a mess, and I don't know anybody anymore who thinks they're good. Or likes it. Everything you go on the subreddit for it, it's a dumpster fire.
Is it?
Everybody just complains. Because remember, these delays and stuff got so bad that they came out and they're like, "We're sorry, we'll work on it," and all, but nothing changed.
Yeah. No. I should look. I don't think I have anything else. I think I got it.
I got to double check.
The last thing I had was that whatever that Castlevania for Switch was, and I got that. So
I think I have.
They did put out a statement.
I saw.
Okay, it's crap.
It's nothing.
It's nothing.
We're sorry.
And they're also only admitting to it being a problem with D the game. So they're not. They're saying it's not a problem with Plumbers Don't Wear Ties. I don't know. You know, I didn't buy either of these, but
the only reason they're putting out a statement is because they got caught.
Yeah. It blew up,
right?
Like in a matter of a day. So, and I don't know, like this, the person that emailed us here, I don't know how many people he blasted on email or different places, but at some point it was going to kick it up to IGN.
He emailed us before it was out anywhere else.
I want to say the email came through on like Wednesday when I looked. So it's a fucked up situation.
Just their canned statement of our bad. We'll make it up to you. We promise. Oh, okay.
Did they even give coupons or anything? Like, what was the thing you got?
A discount off of another purchase. No thanks.
Yeah. Gee, thanks.
No.
I don't want to make
product margins are probably already extra high. The only thing they ever did right was when they finally were, instead of it being like, well, there's only 4,000 copies of this. Good luck. They finally did those open pre-order windows because that made more sense.
Yeah, and that was the thing that I always hated.
Right. But then they they use that as the defense for, well, if we do an open pre-order window, then it's going to take longer for you to get it. Fine, I kind of understand that. But realistically, that should only be you should have everything else in place, and they should have to go to these people and be like, we need X. And then they make X.
Because, I mean, it made it better when they made it open pre-orders because I didn't want to fight the crowds and the people and the bots and all that shit, because that's what it became for a while. It's like, hey, if you want this game, cool, better be there, mashing the browser at 9 a.m. on Friday.
Right.
Yeah. Or you're not going to get a copy.
But making it open pre-orders obviously is going to add time to it. I get that. But it shouldn't make it 18 months.
No.
Or like these collector's editions of stuff they do that are $200, $250, which come with a whole bunch of crap, and then they use that as an excuse for it to be like that's even longer. Something happened where we couldn't make this, so you got to wait. It's like, my God. God help anybody who buys collector's editions from limited.
That's the only collector's edition I have ever bought from them, and it's the only one I ever will.
Right.
Because anything else that I bought, and I bought my fair share of limited run games.
I have a pretty decent amount.
That 5-year stretch. Because I think the first one that I tried to get was when they first did Night Trap. And it was impossible.
I was lucky to get one.
You were lucky to get one. It was that was a shit show.
Right.
And then after that, there were a couple other things I tried. And then it was pretty not long after that when they're like, you know what, we'll do this open pre-order thing. But, this is the downfall of that, which, again, I don't think was that big of a deal because you at least had an opportunity.
No. I liked when they were remaking Game Boy games and stuff. I thought that was cool. Yeah. But now I wonder, and a lot of those they kept sealed just because it was more of like a collector's thing. Wonder if any of them would work.
It's cool that they're now able to work with Microsoft and make the physical releases for stuff there, but it's too late. Right. In my opinion, it's too late. So
I'm not going to buy a physical copy of Grounded from limited run games. Sorry.
No, I'm not either. So, I don't know. I cannot. I have not supported them in a while at this point. I'm just kind of done. But this whole situation, it just made me laugh because I saw the email, read it. I think I blew you up, and then it was like, yeah, this seems about what I would expect. Though.
It makes it even worse. It was already bad. Now it's just worse.
Yeah. So we'll see where that lands. I mean, is it going to really hurt them in the long run? Probably not.
No.
Next story we have is about everyone's favorite Embracer Group, which they're splitting into 3 companies. That's the big thing here.
How long before they rejoin into one company?
A year.
Yeah, right.
my hunch is a year because
the company seems like it just keeps doing dumb shit just to get itself in the headlines.
They don't know what they're doing, and also the names are stupid. Have you looked at the names of the companies?
What are they?
Okay, so there's one company that's just going to be taking charge of the tabletop games called Asmodee Group.
Sure.
But that's not the worst one. Then the other 2 entities are Coffee Stain and Friends. So those are the people that made the Goat Simulator.
Okay.
And then my personal favorite, which is, this is terrible. This is the worst one. Okay. Because I don't know why you would want to associate with a recent game that came out from this franchise, Middle Earth Enterprises and Friends.
But that was the franchise they fucked up.
Exactly. So why, what is the CEO guy doing? Because this is partially his decision.
It just seems like he's playing around, man.
That's what it seems like too.
Fun money, and he's got
seems
all
like
these companies' name up on it.
That's what he seems like.
That's what he seems like. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got all these names on a whiteboard. He just keeps moving them around, throwing some in the garbage.
It's ridiculous, but yeah, the names are terrible. They are terrible fucking company names. So. At least when Microsoft split off certain things, okay, 343 Industries, fine, that's a nod to Halo. A Coalition, fine, that's a nod to Gears of War. That's what those people make. But what else is Middle Earth and Friends? What other games are they going to make?
Friends? Who are the friends of Middle Earth?
Exactly. What are they going to make that isn't a Lord of the Rings game?
Golem 2?
Coffee Stain, at least you can get away with okay, they could make whatever, but we know that they make Goat Simulator, so it's just bad. But it just seems like another string of just jokes for Embracer Group.
It's like he keeps doing this shit to stay relevant.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you there. Next news story we have: Valve has finally closed the Steam refund loophole. Has added like a new advanced access label. What that loophole is like people could buy the early access. So like, for example, the most recent one is, so if you bought the whatever the highest edition of Suicide Squad was, you could refund it before the game technically was out still. And you would have more than what I think it's 4 hours, 2 hours, something like that. You can play the game because the game's technically not out yet. Yeah. So you had people that, were beating that 10-hour campaign and returning it because the game's trash. So makes sense. But they finally closed it. I'm honestly surprised it lasted this long. It's been a while.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder how much they actually cared. But
I think finally when they probably shut this up, when they probably got a shit ton of returns for Suicide Squad,
that might have what probably push point. Yeah.
Because look at how fast the numbers of concurrent players for that game dropped on Steam, like pretty fast. So I'm not surprised. It makes sense. I would say at this point, though, I mean, at least be happy that that's even an option. Because I remember when it wasn't.
Right.
So where it was like, you bought a digital purchase. Okay. That's yours now.
Yeah, enjoy.
In other sad news, Watch Dogs is now a dead franchise, apparently. The last one killed it. Did you play the last one?
I played half of it before I finally was just like,
it wasn't good.
It was just boring.
The problem is like the idea of being anybody is really cool on paper until you play the game and realize there's really not a story here.
It's really not how it works. Yeah.
It's not what you think it would be.
No, especially coming down from 2.
I was going to say, you and I probably agree. 2 was the best of the 3.
Oh yeah, easily,
by far,
easily.
Really good story. This was just
fun game to play. Like, one is one's the kind of one where some reminds me of like Assassin's Creed 1, where like there's some good ideas, and maybe if we cleaned it up, it would work, and then it worked because Watch Dogs 2, Assassin's Creed 2, both great games, but.
I mean, I would also say both of us being from the Chicago area, their rendition of Chicago was laughable at times.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could get from downtown to the fucking countryside in 15 minutes.
15 minutes, yeah. Oh, man. Do you think this is a situation where Ubisoft, they throw it on a shelf for a couple of years? And
I don't think it's dead.
You think it's dead?
No,
I think maybe like 5-6 years, and then somebody goes, hey, what if we made a new one of those? And
I think the name's big enough. And it could just come back as Watch Dogs, and maybe don't try to make it as big as you tried to make it. Try to make it more like 2, and I think it's fine.
I think so.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I saw the dead thing and thought, well, nothing's ever dead. So
this is a company again that is still making Beyond Good and Evil 2, so nothing's dead.
How
we're still talking
much money? I want to know when it finally, whenever it releases, and everybody will be dead when it does release. Like, how much money was thrown into that game when it's all said and done? Because at some point, somebody had to look at some numbers and go, like, why are we still doing this? Like, I cannot believe that even like a board of directors, whatever, have not looked at the numbers, crunched them, and gone, why are we still making this?
I don't think that game has been in active production for years.
No, I don't think it has either, because
it's one of those things where they can. I feel like they know they can just keep name dropping it every so often.
I think they just keep re-upping the license or whatever.
Yeah. Or
that's what I think.
Or whatever.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, and then because then it comes up in an interview every so often, they go, "Oh yeah, we've got plans for it."
Is it? Do you think it's just one guy in a closet somewhere with a computer, just like answering some emails? Yeah, maybe. We are still working on it.
He's the project lead.
Yeah, we are. I looked at some screenshots today. Gears 6 voice actors hinted at a June announcement. So Gears 6 is pretty much all but confirmed at this point.
That's when the show is, right?
Yeah.
So the show is in June.
Yeah.
They literally just announced it. I think it is. I'm probably say I put that in here somewhere. If I didn't,
I think you did.
Showcase was announced for June. I can tell you, I'll just move it up. We'll talk about it right now. Sunday, June 9th.
Okay.
So they are, and actually somebody at work, was like, I saw, because we have like a group at my work, like a little like message board for just like people that play games, you know, at the company that I work at. And the one guy, one of the guys down there, he's a pretty big Xbox fan, will always post like any kind of news and stuff, and post this like, oh, I'm really excited, you know, about whatever this other part of the direct is, which they clearly show like a little logo of like a wolf patch, and then it says redacted direct after, to which I just responded, I'm like, it's Call of Duty, man.
Yeah,
like because he's like, well, you know, maybe it's like contraband. I'm like, no, dude. Like, this is the first year they own Call of Duty,
and they're going
to go as fucking hard as they can. Yep. And if this is the first year that it truly is on Game Pass, they're going to want to go as hard as they can. To tell you the entire time, get Game Pass, you can play it.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's what that thing's going to be, a commercial.
That'll be like, you know, at the end of like every trailer, they're always like, coming whatever, it'll just say
day one on Game Pass.
Day one Game Pass, and then if they put a PlayStation logo on it, it'll be down at the bottom. It'll be about this big.
PlayStation.
I would be surprised if someone shoots a gun and it has the words Game Pass come out of it in the trailer.
Fireworks go off, a Jeep explodes.
Exactly. So, but yeah, June 9th. Like I said, Gears has been heavily rumored for a while. It's time. It's been over 5 years.
Time to finish the story.
And I mean, you played 5.
Yeah, we played 5.
I thought 5 was a very good game.
It's fine
for the most part. It had some problems at its launch, but they were resolved pretty fast. I would more than like to see the end of that, even though there is a decision in that game where I feel like even though you were clearly making a decision at the end of that story, they're going to have to pick one or the other.
Oh, there's no way. Dude. There's always a canon ending.
So, but interesting part of that game. So, but yeah, I'm super excited to see another Gears. I've always liked that franchise, and I liked 4 a lot, and I thought 5 was really good. It had some of the open world elements of it were a little tacked on, but I think
it wasn't bad.
It's been long enough now, and if this game's on Unreal 5, it's going to look amazing. So, it's been long enough where I think you might get a very good looking Gears of War trailer. So that is potentially very exciting. This bullshit, which I put in here, and I'm going to go over it right now because I actually, it pissed me off enough. I made a video about it. IGN, where we've talked about, I don't know how much we've talked about on the show or if I've talked about on the YouTube channel, but video game ethics are dying. Like video game journalism ethics are dying, have died for a while. But IGN decided on Saturday to post an article and not cite like a source. And the article was specifically, so the Fallout 4 update came out it was a week ago, Thursday. And when it launched, people that had the game from the PlayStation Plus collection, which was, if you bought a PS5 and you had PlayStation Plus, there was like 20 games in this collection.
Yep.
They had that go for like 3-ish years.
Went for a long time.
And then they cut it off. But if you redeem those games, they're just in your PlayStation Plus. You literally, your PlayStation Plus, you have them. So for whatever reason, this free update was not working with that version of the game. Bethesda came out on Friday, the following day, and said, hey, we're aware of it. We're working on it. That's the only statement they ever made until this problem was fixed.
Well, because there was also like a problem with the like PS Plus version of it.
Yeah.
And then like there was the regular version of it. And depending on who you are, if you're like me, I technically own all 3 of those copies.
Yeah, that was
the collection one. I had the Plus thing, and then I bought it because I bought the Game of the Year edition when it was like $10. And so depending on the version you own, you could have gotten the update or you could have not gotten the update.
Yeah, and see, I was in the same boat where like I downloaded the update just fine, and I was like, I guess I bought it at some point.
I realized I bought the Game of the Year version at some point.
Anyways, so, and again, it's important to note, the only statement Bethesda came out and made was on Friday. Hey, we're aware of it. We're working on it. So Saturday, IGN decides to post an article that simply, the headline simply is, those who own Fallout 4 via PS Plus collection do not get the free next-gen update, Bethesda confirms. But if you go in this article and you click the link that they cite, it just takes you to their Twitter post where they said, hey, we're working on it.
Right.
There's no confirmation.
Confirmed anything.
They've never confirmed anything. I don't know who at IGN was like, oh, this is an article, whatever. It's set, obviously the internet ablaze. The Bethesda Discord was, on fire over this and everything. And then the best part was on Monday, Bethesda did finally come out and say, hey, it's fixed.
Yeah.
Like, it's no longer a problem. But IGN never retracted that article. They never posted an apology. You could still literally, I can click this link I put in our document here. You could go look at the article. It's still live where it still says that. It's insane. Like, how did nobody get in trouble over this? This wouldn't have happened a decade ago. They literally
don't care.
I know.
IGN cares nothing about sources. They care nothing about reviews. But you would think
Bethesda would care.
I don't know how much they give a shit about a shit place like IGN.
I mean, they cared when Kotaku leaked stuff and they got blacklisted for a couple of years. But Kotaku's
a different situation than people who are looking to pick a fight.
To be fair, you're right there.
But like the IGN, like we went over it when they redid their review scores, and that guy doubled down on, well, we'll do reviews however the fuck we feel like it. Remember?
But everything starts at a 7.
But everything starts at a 7. And then we kind of jump off from there. So they just like IGN is a place I go to look for like quick news bites, but I tend not to read anything because it's a shit show. They're one of the first places that turns off comments if they feel like it'll even be somewhat controversial. They turn it off.
Absolutely.
But they're more than willing to write opinion pieces they know are going to get shit on.
Mm-hmm.
You want to write opinion
Evil 5
pieces?
One from a month ago.
Right. You want to write opinion pieces about shit like that? Get your own blog, get your own space to write about it. Write it on Twitter, do something like that. But to go to a company like IGN and just post your dumbass comments about this where everybody can see it and then double down on it because this is how I feel, fine. Then I'm not here for that. I'm here to see, this game's coming out, or here's a trailer for something. That's all I go to IGN for anymore.
Pretty much.
Place sucks. You know what the worst part is like they're still somehow like one of the better ones to get news from.
They are. Yeah. They still are and like we joke and shit on because, this is not a credible situation. But even with this, they're still one of the more credible sources because what are your other sources? There's GameSpot.
But the thing, IGN actually puts out content. GameSpot barely puts out content.
Barely puts out anything. And then, I mean, I don't want to go to Kotaku. Nobody does.
That's not a source.
And then there's Polygon, which is just Kotaku 2.0. Right. So. And and then what are the sources there? Reset Era, or which is a garbage fire, or
random Twitter
somebody's
posts.
Twitter, which like that's not news,
right?
Like, so I don't. But hey, IGN has a great mobile app, and that's the other thing for you and I.
Are you logged in?
Yeah, I hate that.
You got to be logged in though. Are you logged in? Can you please log in?
Click that button.
What if one day that just makes it where you can't get in unless you log in?
Then I delete the app.
Then I'm done.
I'm not making an account.
Yeah.
So, next thing we have as we continue with Bethesda here, the show obviously is massively successful. 65 million viewers for that show.
Yeah, I need to finish it. I still have not finished it.
Right behind, we have not gone back, which I'm hoping this next week to go back. Which now is like very close behind the Rings of Power, which is I'm surprised it hasn't surpassed that. And then now Bethesda is gonna fast track a new Fallout game thanks to the success of the show. Which
they should.
They should just contact Obsidian and make New Vegas 2 because that's what the kids want, and that would sell.
Anything Fallout will sell at this point.
At this point, yeah.
I mean, the numbers.
I've seen the first 2 episodes. I think when's the last time we talked, and they're really good.
The numbers of really people playing 4 and 76 are crazy.
It is okay.
Yeah, I went into 76 just to because they gave away. You got some bonus stuff related to the show. I jumped in full server immediately. It did not used to be like that. Not at all.
No.
It's crazy how many people are playing that game now. But that game's also light years better than what it was. But
that's I wouldn't say it's quite a No Man's Sky situation, but
no, it's not that.
It definitely is very improved from when it launched, because I remember how bad it was at launch. Horribly bad.
I mean, fast tracking a game sounds good, but I would like it to be made on a new engine. Like, I don't want it to be. Now that we've got this PS5 update of Fallout 4, we're just going to use that framework to make Fallout 5. Don't do that. Make a new game.
Starfield wasn't exactly on a new engine, but it definitely works a lot better.
Sure, but I don't know. I feel like we could do better. And I don't want a cheap cash in. I want a proper Fallout game.
Well, and speaking of, we're going to get to Starfield in a little bit because there's some hot news with that game as well. There was a Xbox Indie Showcase, a lot of indie games. I'm not really going to go through a lot of it because they're indie games. But that 33 Immortals, remember that weird game?
Oh, yeah.
It's getting a beta in May, and it sounds like that's coming pretty soon. Vampire Survivors is getting Contra DLC, which is crazy. Those are kind of the biggest things I picked out of this. There's some other like smaller stuff, but there wasn't anything that I was like blown away by either, but just smaller stuff. And I'd say out of the like 20-ish games that they showed, at least half of them are coming to Game Pass, little under half. So makes sense. But so always good smaller stuff coming to Game Pass you never heard of is always cool. Yeah. Because you never know.
Good way to play that stuff.
And then obviously with the Bethesda stuff, Todd Howard has seemingly teased 2 unannounced Fallout projects. One of them is probably they found evidence at some point a while ago that there was a remaster of Fallout 3.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I feel like that's probably one of them. And at this point, like that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So
maybe the other one's like a mobile thing.
Yeah. I don't think it's what people think it is.
No.
So there was the other hot big button loss news of the week.
Yeah.
Square Enix, makers of Final Fantasy, took a $140 million hit in content abandonment losses. That's a good new term that somebody came up with. Someone got paid mega bucks to come up with that term.
That was the DC guy. He came up with that.
Is that what it is? Okay.
It's got to be. Right?
As it revises its game pipeline. And as you and I discussed earlier this week, what I'm pretty sure that means is you're just getting Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest games. And
you're getting that. You'll get your Kingdom Hearts 4.
That ain't coming out next year, though.
No, well, you'll get.
I saw some rumor about that. Like, no,
but
you'll get a Kingdom Hearts 4.
Yeah, but we're gonna start cutting out the Forespokens and the Quiet Mans and all that other stuff. That's all gonna go.
Oh my God, the Quiet Man! Remember the Quiet Man? Did you play it?
I watched someone play it. That's enough.
Watched someone play. I played it. It's a terrible fucking game. Going back to Bethesda, so Starfield is getting a huge patch May 15th that is adding 60 frames support. So we did it. They're also putting like full local maps in the game. You know, things that should have been there at launch.
It's almost like this is when the game should have come out.
That's what I said to Matt. I was like, I really feel like this game probably should have waited until May this year, but they fiscally could not delay it any longer. So it's still really cool that they're updating it with all this stuff in preparation for the DLC that's out this fall.
And the PS5 version.
It probably.
At this point.
I would say at this point, after those games sold so successfully, that 7 of the top 20 PlayStation games are Xbox. Yeah. They're going to put it out.
Yeah. Like they finally have decided we've cracked.
I don't think you're going to see a Halo or a Gears, but I do think that stuff like that, I think indie will come later on.
I think Halo and Gears would be the kind of thing where 2 years later, maybe we just say, fine, fuck it, who cares? But not right away. Indie, 6 months to a year. Yeah. Starfield, it'll be about a year.
It'll be a Game of the Year edition.
Yeah, and that's,
I still say
isn't that just like the smartest thing for them to do? Like, why not?
It is.
We can make more money if we release it on another console. Who cares?
Yeah.
I don't think they're really, honestly, I don't think they're going to be that hard pressed for money anyway.
No.
They own Call of Duty now. They're good.
They're going to be good this fall.
They'll buy Bungie back when Sony finally hemorrhages that off.
I'm amazed they haven't hemorrhaged that off yet, to be fair.
It seems like they
Do you think we ever hear about what were they working on? The
Marathon?
I keep forgetting. Marathon. Keep on to say Monolith for some reason. Marathon. Do you think we ever hear about that again?
Marathon,
or do you think that's quietly canceled?
Dead, right?
I feel like it's dead, right? That they're probably just working on.
Maybe
Destiny
they're not going to talk about it until Destiny 2 is like over.
Isn't this?
This is supposed
stuff
to be
coming out next month is the end, right?
Right.
I feel like it is. It kind of looks like they're giving it a definitive end. So.
Right.
And Destiny 2 has lasted way longer than I think anybody anticipated.
Yeah, because of how short Destiny 1 lasted in comparison.
Yeah. that was simply because that game was really designed as a 360 PS3 game, so it had to. So, Take-Two has shut down Roll 7, which really sucks. These are the people that made Ollie Ollie and Roller Dome and a bunch of other really cool indie games.
Indie stuff, yeah.
Good indie stuff. Ollie Ollie, fucking amazing game. Both
very solid game.
I have not played the newest one. I have it. I'm going to go try it now because of this, but Ollie Ollie 2, played the hell out of that. It's a great, great game. It sucks. But again, you see where the industry is going right now. I'm not surprised.
No.
So, here's a good one that you're going to love. X Defiant finally has a release date of May 21st.
Who gives a shit, man?
It's finally coming out. We finally passed its cert. I might try it just to see.
Call me when Star Citizen gets released. How about that?
Wow. That's like on the same level as Beyond Good and Evil 2, right?
No, you can actually play Star Citizen.
You can't actually play that right now. Fair. And then I think this is final. Let's look here. No, we got 2 left.
Okay.
I'll go with the other one first because the last one we can talk about a little bit more. I put this in here just because I think it's funny. Redfall Anniversary comes and goes, and the $100 edition still awaits its promised DLC.
Yikes.
It's been over a year, and they have not put out that DLC. That's fucking crazy.
The DLC's not coming, man.
I don't think it is either because I think they fixed what everybody bitched about, which was why is the game not running at 60 frames on console, and they're good.
Yep, game's done.
So
sorry,
I think it's over, and Arcane is working on something else. But let's talk about the big last hot off the press news of today. Resident Evil 9 is supposedly going to launch in January. There's a bunch of evidence supporting that it will be announced probably this month. I would assume at the PlayStation Showcase. They have a history.
Yeah.
And at first I thought to myself, I'm like, it seems maybe too soon. Really doesn't. Because if you look at the history of how this has gone, like we had Resident Evil 7, we had the Resident Evil 2 remake. They quickly put out Resident Evil 3 remake because that was easy to do.
Right.
You had Village. You had the Resident Evil 4 remake. Now it's time for something new.
Probably.
The more concerning parts of this are the stuff that I read where, first of all, this game apparently has been in production since 2018. Was developed alongside Village. Is going to have some sort of open world aspect, which I don't know if that's going to work for Resident Evil. We'll see. That could mean I have questions.
Though. Like who knows?
It could mean anything. My biggest thing is like, what do we do? Because the story of Ethan Winters is over. That ended.
But the story of his daughter.
Her story ended in that game. They definitively were like, we're closed the book at the end of that DLC. And also with that DLC, as I told you, like they got away from the first person view.
Right.
And they kind of are just like, nah, this is a third person franchise, which I believe it always should have been. So I feel like this game will probably be third person. But like what could Resident Evil 9 be? Like, what do we do at this point?
You just play as Lady D. That's it.
I mean, we talked.
That's what the kids want.
You and I talked earlier what we would like, which is like a reunion of older characters like Sheva.
Yeah,
bring back Sheva. Bring back an older and more battle hardened Jill, Sheva, Claire,
Elena.
Some of these classic characters.
Bring all the girls. Yeah. Girl Squad.
There you go.
Resident Evil 9, Girl Squad.
I don't need Leon. I don't want to see Leon.
I don't want Chris.
No.
We just had 2 games of Chris.
I know, but that doesn't mean anything to Resident Evil. Like,
no, it doesn't mean to hardcore fan. But I mean, they had also argued like, I want to see Leon. I don't want to see Leon.
No, I don't want to see Leon. Ashley.
So,
how about you play as Ashley this time? And she's super hard.
Oh, that'd be wild.
That experience changed her. She's ready to go.
There you go. And now she works for their what is it? I
don't even know.
BSAA.
Is that?
I had to think about it for
BSAA?
a second.
Yeah.
It's still the BSAA.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me back up. Now that I thought about it, it is the BSAA, but then it turned into
like 2 branches of it or something.
It turned into Undercover Neo Umbrella in Resident Evil 7 because Chris works for Neo Umbrella and they wear blue. So instead of the red umbrella logo, it's a blue logo.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. Totally good.
Whatever, sure. Like I don't like I don't want any more of the like supernatural shit. Get back to what Resident Evil is. Like we did that with 7, we did that with 8, like that was fine, whatever. they wrote an incredibly bullshit reason why, but they had a reason why somebody can turn into a vampire or a werewolf, whatever. It was bullshit, but it worked for Resident Evil. Get back to the basics. That's what I would like to see. Bring back some zombies.
Let's just kill some zombies and one really crazy ass creature.
Weird fucking plants. Yeah. Do it. I mean, I don't need the game to be set in another mansion or castle or anything. I mean, I'm not put down by the open world aspect. It just when I think of Resident Evil, like, what does that mean?
I would think my hope would be like it would be an open world in a city. So think like Division, but not on as big of a scale.
Okay.
That would work, right? Like you
and
go
then you
in
can
buildings
pick
and
characters,
stuff. Right?
And it's co-op,
right?
Okay.
There we go. That's a game.
There we go.
Resident Evil, but it's set in a city like Division. You can there's room to explore around. You know, the city.
See that.
You know,
does that how much would that upset hardcore Resident Evil fans?
They would hate it. They would hate it
because it's not a single player adventure.
They would hate it.
It is a cooperative online thing.
If this game has any kind of,
but it is called Resident Evil 9.
If it has any kind of online requirement, people will start fires.
Here's my next question. Resident Evil 7, they fixed the number 7 in there really well. 8 was Village.
So 9 is IX.
What do you think 9?
9 is IX. So there's a lot of stuff we could do with that.
Okay. That'd be interesting. I wonder. I want a good fake out trailer too. Like, I don't know what it is. You know, that's the other
7,
thing I want.
Where like when that whole thing was going on, I'm like, what is this?
Like, what is this game? Because that was a complete departure for Resident Evil.
I had no clue. And then that like thing came up at the end where it was like the logo came up with like the 7 and it fit in. Yeah. You're like, oh my God, what?
Yeah.
But
so
I'd
9, like them to do something like that.
9 is IX. There's we could pick a lot of words for that, I'm sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm excited. I mean, I would assume we're going to hear about the Sony event pretty soon. So I really would like to see what Resident Evil 9 is. So, at this point, it can't get any worse than the last two is the way I look at it. Cause like, I like 7, but it's not a Resident Evil game to me. And I think I like 7 more than I did Village. Village, I played through once. Some stuff in there broke me on that game. So the guy that calls Chris the boulder punching asshole.
Well, he's not wrong.
It's good. He's not wrong. But that boss also sucks. He turns into a transformer.
I've seen that fight. Yes.
He's literally. It's not a. Like, he literally turns into a fucking transformer. Like, yeah, it's bad. We can be done with news here. We can kick it over to movies. I don't think you've watched anything, Dan. It looks like
no.
I have watched one big, and I know you have not watched it yet, Matt.
I have not,
and I would say I would recommend it. It's not as good as I hoped it would be. Late Night with the Devil. What did I gave it a 7. I had to think for a second when I gave it a 7. Partially because it's got a really good setup for like what it's telling. But as I told you, Matt, and this might be a minor spoiler, but for this TV show, but a couple years ago, they rebooted Creepshow into a TV show. And there is an episode, and it was surprising because I didn't know anything about this until it happened, called Public Access of the Dead.
Yeah, that was a great episode.
Okay. And that's what I wanted this movie to be, because what that is you have a character that's like a Bob Ross in a public access TV station. And in the next room where they're filming a different, like, it's like a, like Antiques Roadhouse show.
Yeah.
But it's Sam Raimi's brother, Ted Raimi, and he has the Evil Dead Necronomicon.
Yeah.
Oh. And so they're looking to appraise it, and they of course accidentally read the phrase, and it just turns people into demons. And you have a Bob Ross like character fighting monsters for 20 minutes. Like
ex-military or something. I think.
It's fucking amazing. And that's why I told you, Matt, like that is a better story than what this movie presents in the same kind of premise.
Yeah, I need to. I
wanted this movie to go that hard. It doesn't. Mm-hmm. It is a really good setup. The way that they made this feel like a late 70s, like late night talk show, it works incredibly well. That main dude, I will butcher his name if I say it. Really, really good as like a late night host. They have a story built up for like why he's doing this, which is good. But it's let down by cheap special effects when you do get to that stuff. And it takes too long to get to that point. Whereas you get to a point where like, come on, let's just see the possession and move on from it. I did love how it ended though, because it has a completely what the fuck just happened ending, where it's like he hallucinates something, and then at the last second, it's like, oh, that didn't happen, and he's literally just standing there, go, what the fuck just happened, and the movie ends, and I like that. So, but. And I would say too, Dan, like the gore in it's not. There's really not much. Like you could handle it.
I watched that episode of Creep Show. I can watch this.
Oh yeah, that's gorier than this. You see a man get his neck snapped. I think you're okay.
Okay. I've watched like, John Wick.
I laughed at that. Yeah. I've seen some Seagal movies. I know what's going on. Like that is the only movie I watched this week or this last 2 weeks was that one. I have other ones like I now have Arcadian, which is that Nicolas Cage movie that just came out with it's like him and two sons, post-apocalyptic.
Oh yeah.
I do want to watch that. So I will probably be able to talk about that next time. But what about Matt? You have some stuff you've watched.
Yeah, so I saw some clips of this movie called The Jester on YouTube, and it looked kind of creepy, so I wanted to give it a shot. I would recommend not watching it. It was like the villain, like the jester itself, like the bad guy.
Okay.
Was good. He was so good, like in just him being creepy and him doing the things he needed to do. But the movie itself was just so poorly written. Like it was just like it really made no sense. Like so the jester comes into this town and he's like just the very beginning, he murders somebody. Then you find out the person he murdered was the main chick's dad, and her and him had like a bad relationship. And the movie focuses so heavily on this daughter-father other daughter relationship
that it takes away from the jester.
It really does. Like it's just like you could have just named this movie Troubled Past and it probably would have worked out better, because like it's just the clips I saw of it were so like intriguing, and that's what made me want to go watch it, because I was like, okay, that looks really cool.
Yeah.
It was just bad. It wasn't anything to talk about. I mean, I watched it because I started it and I was in it and I just had to finish it. But yeah, The Jester came out last year, 2023. If I gave it a number, I'd say like a 4 out of 10. Just because the Jester himself was really cool looking, but that was probably the best thing about this movie.
So that's where they put the budget.
Yeah, him.
Probably him, and then a cool cover art.
Yeah, because the girls they hired were just not that great. And then I stumbled upon this in Walmart, but they re-released the movie Rad. I don't know, depending on how old you guys are.
I know what it is.
This movie came out in 1982. And I remember watching it as a kid and thinking like, hey man, BMX biking is really dope. And I watched the movie and I realized this movie is horrible. But not like bad. It's not like Jester bad, but it's just like, it's like one of those things where it's like, I don't know. Personally, the adults in my neighborhood when I was a kid didn't like us walking around the neighborhood because they thought we were getting in trouble. Let alone this whole town is supporting BMX riding.
No.
And I'm like, I just don't see that happens. I mean, in Footloose, they didn't want people dancing. How is BMX biking going to be something different?
No.
So I think the one thing in this movie that truly did piss me off was there's a scene where he's riding and he's a paper boy and he's delivering a paper and he rides past a 7-Eleven and the 7-Eleven says 3 hot dogs for $1. Like that really irked my taters, because I was like, damn, that really 3 hot dogs for $1. And I was like, that really shows exactly how far we've come along. Where like, it's just so bad. But I mean, the movie itself was good. Like the The BMX biking was pretty dope. Some of the stunts they did were really cool. Like, I still enjoyed it, even though like it was just one of those things where you saw flaws in it, but you're still like, all right, well, I watched this as a kid.
It's like for me going back today, and I think I've mentioned it to you before, Dan, but like obviously I'm a big Adam Sandler guy, but Billy Madison does not hold up for me today.
It's its own
Happy
weird...
Gilmore does, but Billy Madison, like I tried to watch it like maybe a year ago, and it's just I couldn't do it. And I watched the shit out of that movie, but like Happy Gilmore still holds up. But
yeah, I mean, all in all, if you've seen it, it's a good flick. It's just one of those ones that just, you know, like you watch it and you're just like, oh, okay, that's not going to happen in real life.
No. The other thing I'll mention, we went last weekend. We have a drive-in theater by us. We're lucky enough to have a drive-in that's not only still operates, but like incredibly popular in our area.
It's the one, right?
They did
that we've been to.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Incredibly popular.
It's shocking how many people go there. Yeah.
Yeah. They're rated like the #1 theater in our county like every year, and I laugh because I'm like, yeah, it's pretty cool though. But they did a weekend. They did like because they're getting ready. This is the first year for whatever reason they did enough improvements where they're open much longer seasons.
Oh,
so it's not just the summer. They opened in March to show Ghostbusters, and they've been open since then. And they're going to be open through Christmas, like the week before Christmas, because they'll show holiday movies, which that seems a little far.
In our area, yeah, that's pushing it.
But they did this halfway to Halloween weekend, so they showed the original Poltergeist and the first Creepshow movie. So we went last weekend, and we obviously watched Poltergeist, which was fun. I wanted to see that because the other thing that happened last week, and I didn't get a chance to go, and I wanted to, but it was a choice of doing that or this, was Alien celebrated its 45th anniversary, and you can go see that in theaters. They're actually playing it, and it's not a Fathom event because usually they do like Fathom events. No, it was just in theaters. Like I could go to the theater by my house.
That's interesting.
And I told my girlfriend, like, I either want to do one or the other. Man. We decided to do this because we could take our dog with us. So
that's really how I wish they had done these Spider-Man re-releases where I could have just.
That's why I was shocked when he told me that, because Spider-Man 2 charted on the top 10 like for that weekend. I would have
gone to see every single one of these just because.
It's only in like very few theaters. So think about how much. And the
closest one was not anywhere close.
That's what's ridiculous. It was in the top 10 grossing movies last week. You can't
tell me that they couldn't have put Spider-Man 2 in theaters for 2 weeks in just theaters across the country, and it wouldn't have done insane.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
I would have gone, no question.
I don't understand why they didn't do that, because they did that for Alien.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Because I didn't expect it, because when I looked at it, I was like, oh, it'll be a Fathom event. I'll have to go to some theater far away. I was like, no, it's right here.
Yeah.
So. But driving, it was fun to go do that. We sat through, obviously we watched Poltergeist. I think we left halfway through Creepshow because it was, I mean, they were at the time of the year where like when you go to a drive-in, the movie starts when it gets dark.
Yeah.
And when you play 2 movies, it gets really late. So they didn't start Creepshow till like 11 o'clock at night. Oh. So I'm like, I'm not 20 anymore, man. And then the last thing I'll mention here, and you'll get a kick out of this, Dan. I have decided, I don't think I've talked about this on the podcast, but I have decided I've kind of caught up on the TV shows that I want to watch. I don't have any like present real big journeys to take. And after a couple year absence, I've decided to go back and finish the longest journey that I've ever taken. Dark Shadows.
Oh, Jesus.
Which I left off. There are 1,492 episodes of that show.
That's insane.
Damn.
I am in the 800s.
Well, to be fair, that's very similar to my Detective Conan jersey, which has been on pause for a while.
So part of the reason I stopped too is it was all on Amazon. Amazon took it down. I was able to acquire it when I acquired it, but it is a pain in the ass to get to work into the server program that I use. So I noticed the other day somebody pointed out to me it's on Tubi.
Oh,
and I'm like, okay. And so I tried to watch an episode and then try to figure out where I left off. And like the ad part of it's not that bad. So you see like an ad or two, but it's not horrible. And for that show, it only plays one ad, and then you can watch like 3 or 4 episodes before it plays another ad.
That's what's up.
So because they probably I have to imagine the traffic is not very high for Dark Shadows. So yeah, I've gone back to that. So that is a wild journey. But we can go ahead. We can kick it over to emails. We'll start here with we got a good old GameStop. So Sandy from Redacted says, "Hey guys, GameStop manager here. I'm sure it's been discussed in previous episodes, but I've been listening to this cast for the last year or so I'm unsure. If this has been asked before, I apologize. As a store manager, I am over dealing with renters. In the last 6 months, I've gotten about 4 to 5 regular abusers of our return system. I'm just so tired of it because, as you know, we don't make money off of them. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to my deal only to be denied any type of repercussion and be told you just have to continue to take these returns. Do you guys have any good tips on getting around this? I feel like I'm pulling my hair out at this point dealing with this. Thanks." Oh, the renters.
Yeah, and we even got to a point where I told you they're not even renters, they're borrowers. At a rental place, I get $6 and you bring it back. But I get nothing.
You get nothing.
Right.
The only time you might get lucky that you catch them on something is day 8, obviously, or they fuck up on a buy two get one because they think they're going to keep the free game.
Right.
Which is always
a classic where you're like, oh, I need that game back. What? You need to bring them all back or I charge you for it.
It's not how it rings up.
But it was free. No.
I don't. Is this a thing? I'm going to ask you this question. I don't know if this is the thing in current day GameStop. I don't know if you know or not, but we went through a situation with somebody who just kept buying every headset. Because remember, you could return those.
Oh, I think that has changed in some way.
I would hope so, because that was new product.
I don't know if that's as abusable as it used to be.
That was new product, though.
Those were terrible. The headset policies are always the worst. Headset policies should have been 30-day defectives. Otherwise, you go to the manufacturer all sales final. They were insane. They should never have been classified as accessories. They should have been their own category, headsets own special rules. But the only real thing you can do with renters is, either hope they mess up and you can get them on day 8. You can strike them down immediately. The only other real thing we would ever do is get really passive aggressive in a way where I'd point it out, be you're returning this one too. I've noticed you returned a lot of stuff lately, and just kind of put it out there in a way where you're letting them know that you know what they're doing. And you kind of put it out there. Sometimes that'll get people to back off. Sometimes. Or maybe they'll avoid your store. There would be times, though, where people would just fuck DM approval. It would get to a point where it'd be 4 or 5 times. And I would just tell people I'll return this one this last time, but I'm not going to be able to do it for you again. And I would actually write on their receipt.
I remember that. Because the other guy that worked with us, he'd do that too, where he'd initial it.
Yeah. Yeah. You would just do a thing where you would circle it and initial it or something and say, this is your last exchange. Yeah. Well, and then they would try to come at you with something and be like, no, you're abusing the policy. I have the right to say no. And you kind of have to know whether or not you can get away with that. Depending on the customer, your DM, there's some factors. A lot of the job is being able to read people and get a sense of who they are. But I would do that eventually after a certain point, because it would just be, I'm not making any money off of you doing this. We also had the situation where it would go between our store and the other store that's a 5-minute drive from us. So they would just go between stores all the time. Right. But that's why I was always strict about, I need the receipt. For this, especially if I've caught you doing it before, have to have the receipt. Well, can't you just look it up? I need a receipt to do it. And then just writing I would literally write no returns.
That's another good way to do it too. And I don't know how it works today for GameStop stuff, but that's another good trick too, is make sure that they have the actual receipt.
Yeah, if you're going to do this, and we're going to do it correctly.
Yeah,
and I gotta have receipt. I gotta have the game. If it's a buy two get one, no way. Although, how often do they even do buy two get ones anymore?
Probably just holiday.
Well, that's the other reason why I'd want the receipt, is to make sure that there's not some other kind of scam going on top of returning stuff. Because, if you can't you just look it up or whatever? No, I need a receipt. But yeah, in terms of like getting DM approval, if you asking for approval on that kind of stuff, you're never going to get it. It sounds
doesn't
shitty.
Matter to them.
It sounds shitty. It's more of a do it your way and see what happens kind of a thing.
Yeah,
because as long as you're not like calling the customer a shithead to his face, you're not really going to get in trouble for it.
As long as you do it in a way where you don't feel like they're going to contact the district manager or get that triggered by it,
right?
You're probably going to be fine. We definitely had those people where you knew that if you push back too hard, they were going to pull out their phone and call the DM. So. Well,
luckily, the worst of those, even the DM got tired of it.
Yeah, we got lucky with one specific
fucker,
but that was also a massive dump of evidence.
Months-long process. Yeah.
So, but yeah, and that's really the easiest and best thing you can do at this point is little things like that. Mark the receipt. Subtly, make sure they have a paper receipt.
Make it aware that you know what they're doing.
Yeah,
out loud. Even if you're like wondering to yourself, like, oh, you're returning this one too, huh? Like just kind of putting it out there that will turn some people away.
It will for sure. It'll make them concerned enough. At the least, it'll make them concerned enough that they'll go to a different location.
If it's possible, they'll go to a different store.
Yeah. So, next email we have comes from Darren from Redacted. Hi guys, former GameStop manager. As of today, I walked out. I've never walked out of any job or anything in my life, but today I just couldn't take it anymore. For context, I've been with GameStop for 12 years and SL for 6, and I knew it wouldn't be going any higher than SL, and I stopped drinking the Kool-Aid a long-ass time ago. The last straw of me was my DL telling me that I needed to have complete open availability. I've had Thursdays off since I became an SL because that's the day I get to enjoy with my kids and my extended family, but for some reason in the last month, my SL has pushed back hard against this Thursday thing. It's never been a problem before, but I will say I feel like he's been pushing to get rid of me for a while since I no longer am drinking that Kool-Aid. As you guys have said in the past to many others, I'm going to litter Indeed with apps and hope for the best. Thanks for what you guys do.
Well, I'm glad you walked out before he was going to fire you, because it definitely seems like that's probably what was going to happen.
It seems like that's where it was going. Yeah.
We've talked about it before. Like if they want to fire you.
Thursday's a weird day, though.
They can,
and that's a good. Like I look at that and go, that's a good way to look at and pinpoint. Like they're looking to get rid of you because the day that you're asking to be off is a Thursday.
It's a pointless day.
About that.
Yeah. One of the.
If it was a Saturday or a Sunday or something, I could maybe understand why all of a sudden they would give more of a fuck, but not a Thursday.
Yeah,
it's like one of the slowest days.
You know what? And what's weird? Like Mondays are always slow too. It's because games would come out on Tuesdays. So it's not a lot of traffic on Mondays. I definitely anytime they start to push against you for something dumb is an indicator that they are pressuring you to either quit or they're looking for a reason. And that they could have easily flipped that into, you're a store leader, you're expected to do this. I'll make your schedule. I'm going to make your schedule, and you're going to work that Saturday all day. Because, that's something that they could theoretically pull out of their thing is, I'm making your schedule.
I remember a situation from before your times where something like that happened.
Interesting.
Involving an area manager.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Yes. And a certain store manager who was fired long ago.
Yes.
But that is a reality though, is they can totally come in and say, you know what? I'm setting your schedule for the week because I've seen that happen. They
would have to approve the ones I put in there in theory. Because, the rule was I would typically work every Saturday just because it made sense for me to work Saturdays. And then the rule was, I think the rule technically was one Sunday a month.
Yeah.
Or every other, something like that.
I want to say it was one Sunday and they specifically wanted it to be the marketing Sunday.
Typically, yeah. Even though our marketing would be done on fucking Thursday. But
so we just did it.
We just the boxes in. Hey man, you got nothing to do, just do all the marketing.
Yeah. Unless it was something you could not
unless it was street dated, get the marketing done.
Yeah, we didn't care.
So yeah, in theory, you would have to approve my schedule, but I could tell you there were a lot of managers who never, ever worked a Sunday, including mine when I was an SGA. I worked every fucking Sunday as an SGA. But I was the bitch, so that kind of made sense. But so that would have been probably the plan would be to, I'm making your schedule, and he would just start making you work Thursdays, open and close by yourself. And then the minute, and the minute you called off or you switch or whatever, strike one. So yeah, I mean, the writing was on the wall. I'm glad you saw it and didn't have to just put up with it for. Because the thing about that too is that probably would have taken a while for him to actually get it done and approved. So
probably,
yeah. Thank God, you know, your sanity's back. You don't work for this fucking place anymore, and you can
just
take
litter
a break.
indeed with apps, man. Like you said, like that's what I did, and it took me. And I mean, I don't have a number of how many apps. It was a lot, but it took me. For me, it was like 2 weeks.
Yeah, I remember you telling me you're like, man, I put out another 40 today.
Yeah, like that's literally, I just churned it into my job at that point because that's what I had to do. Right. But
well, and that's the thing is, you make your resume. Your resume is good at all these places, and you just carve out 4 hours of your day because you're not working, and you just send it everywhere, and you check your emails and look for responses. And again, for as many places that are closing or whatever, there's just as many places that desperately need people to do stuff. So,
absolutely,
like desperately. So you'll be fine. And again, your GameStop, especially 6 years as a store leader, that's worth a lot.
You got a lot of skills that you don't even think are skills. So
plenty of skills,
as we've discussed in the past. So, next email we have comes from Chris from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Hey guys, I love the podcast, has video, and you guys are also doing clips. Now I just wanted to write in regarding Dan playing Forespoken. That game fucking sucks. Unless you are a trophy hunter and absolutely need to get that platinum, there's virtually no redeeming quality to it or to finishing it. It's easily one of the worst games of this current generation, and I'm someone who bought it day one as it was a Square game, and I'm a huge Square fan. If I were you, I'd save your time for something better.
Luckily, we're at a point now where like there really isn't anything else like
there's nothing
coming
like,
that is taking me. This is taking me away from. I finished Rebirth before.
I was trying to think today, like, what would the next thing for you be?
I don't know.
Because, like, for me, obviously, I'm excited about Shin Megami. That's me, but like,
I'll have to go through and look at stuff, man. Like, again,
we're also at that weird part of the year where we don't know what the second half looks like until we get through these shows in the next month. So
I've got plenty of stuff I can play to clean up
stuff,
but we talked about it like. The only reason I'm doing this Forespoken thing is kind of it's as a joke just to do it because the platinum is doable. It's a nightmare, and but I'm only doing it because Kyle bought it for me, and it's just kind of a joke.
No, it is.
Will I actually platinum it? Like if we're being 100% real, I'm gonna try. There could be a point where I finally just say,
"Fuck it,
fuck this," because I laughed at my favorite line of this email is. It's easily one of the worst games of this current generation. Yeah, because it doesn't feel like a current generation game.
No, it seems like the little bit I've seen now.
It feels like it came out when Final Fantasy 15 came out.
Yeah.
Like that's
luminous.
That is the time period it feels from, which was shockingly a long time ago in terms of video game time periods.
It doesn't seem like a good game.
It's just so bad. There's like no redeeming qualities. I can't think of one thing about the game that I would be like, oh yeah, that's good. And this is coming from somebody who like having replayed Final Fantasy 15, the same game within the past like 2 years. That game's really good. Like it's a lot better than I remember playing it the second time.
I put that higher on my list of Final Fantasies, which probably pissed some people off.
After replaying it is very good. And like 16, very good. Like the number ones have been hitting for me, man. Like
15. I think the biggest problem with that game when it came out too is it was too ambitious for the hardware at the time.
And also remember that game got patched and they fixed stuff and they plugged in story holes and all this other stuff. It was another one of those games where it had already been delayed and it still wasn't done. And they just were like, we got to release it. It would have been better in the oven for another year. But this for Forespoken feels like it actually feels like it came out before 15, where it's kind of like you could see elements in 15 that would have come from
demo
Forespoken.
for Luminous.
Yeah,
I could see that.
But man, it's bad. It's just so bad. It's one of the worst games I've played in a long time.
No. Not a game I'm going to play, that's for sure.
No, I don't think anyone ever should.
Next email we have comes from Chelsea from Davenport, Iowa. Hey guys, love the new video format and the clips. I saw a clip of your review for Immaculate, and I was curious if you guys will do the same for the first Omen, since it's kind of considered this weird pseudo twin movie to Immaculate. Also, are any of you excited for Long Legs? I will answer that first. That is my most anticipated movie of the year now.
That's the Nicolas Cage one?
It looks so fucking crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like the marketing for that movie as a horror fan is a chef's kiss. Like every one of these weird clips that comes out, I just more enthralled with. Like it has this like Silence of the Lambs feel to it. And I cannot wait for it. It's out in July. I just put it out now. I'll watch it. So I will probably like I've sat and I'm like, do I go to the theater? Do I wait the 2 weeks? Like I'm actually go to the theater to watch that because I'm that hyped on it. I mean, I'll watch the first Omen. I'm sure you will, Matt, once it's up. I recently just watched, for probably the first time in like a decade, I sat and watched the original Omen to kind of refresh my memory to see this one, because I've heard so much positive things about the first Omen. So like everybody that I've talked to that has seen it says it's really good. So we'll definitely review that. So, and yeah, Long Legs said like that movie just looked, and that other one, like this other company, I went down a rabbit hole the other day because there's this other company all of a sudden that popped up when Immaculate came out called Neon. And what I found out is that they're a sub division is whatever you want to call it of Blumhouse.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
But they're doing like smaller scale horror movies, like, 5-10 million ish.
Sure.
So they have 3 this year, which is Immaculate, which just came out. That Cuckoo movie that's coming out with Hunter Schafer, which looks good too. It looks really fucked up. I know you saw the trailer for that, Matt.
I was gonna say, is that the one that you showed me? Where
that was the one I sent you, where it's like there's that thing on the bike that's chasing her. That looks fucking weird. Yeah, I'm into that.
That looks.
You should watch the trailer for that. It looks super fucking weird. And then Long Legs is the last one, which is in July. So, and gosh, that movie, this looks incredible.
I just like the fact that Long Legs isn't really giving you any information about.
I don't know anything about that movie other than like he's some sort of killer that's obsessed with the occult. That's all I know.
So it's like it's interesting, and I think that's the problem. Is so many trailers nowadays give so much information, and it's like you see so many big scenes in trailers nowadays. It's good,
but it also has this like unsettling feeling, like those trailers.
Yeah, for sure. I'm excited for it.
I'm always for something that puts out a trailer that makes you think about it after. So, which like to plug the drive in again, when we went, they showed the same 2 trailers between both movies, which were Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which I should mention I am going to go see that next week, so I'll be able to talk about that next time I record. So I'm excited about that. And then Alien Romulus showed that like twice, so which I think that's an excellent trailer too, and I hope they stop there, but I know they won't. So I don't need another Alien Romulus trailer. I'm excited with what they showed. So. But yeah, absolutely. So next email we have comes to us from Taylor from Irving, California. Hi, 572 crew. I wanted to reach out regarding Kyle's video on the Stellar Blade controversy. My question isn't about that, but just simply, have you sat down and played it yet? If so, what do you think? I have not.
I want to.
I'll tell you, my honest reason why I've not played it is because I'm so fucking tired of the controversy around that game. Because like anytime I pull open Twitter, the only reason I go on Twitter anymore is to be like, hey, here's this new video I made, or hey, our new episode of the podcast up, whatever. And all I see is just littered with like the controversy about that stupid game. And I'm just so tired of hearing about it. I have it. Like I said earlier, I opened it.
I'm just waiting for a sale. Like it's one of those games where I do want to play it and I will play it, but I don't.
The demo was cool.
Yeah, I don't need to pay full price for that game.
No,
and I feel like even though it's selling really well, I feel like in a couple of months I can get it for at least $20 off.
I feel like Black Friday,
right? And I might even just wait. It depends. Like I got a backlog of crap to get through, so Stellar Blade doesn't have to jump to the top.
And I can't imagine that game's long because it's that type of game's never very long.
They try not to make it long. Yeah.
No. So because that was the other thing I said too. I was like, well, I got Stellar Blade to play that, or I got this copy of Alone in the Dark I paid $8 for.
Wow.
Should I dive into that? The answer is I probably will dive into Alone in the Dark.
I might do that Star Ocean. The two.
Oh yeah. I forgot about
that. Do that next because I
forgot about that.
Yeah.
Well, that's the other thing. I promised a while ago if I finally hit the stupid number of 500 subscribers, I'd do an updated 360 collection video, which I hit 505 today.
Oh boy!
Whatever most recent. Yeah, big boy on YouTube, 500 subscribers. The problem now is where my bookshelf is that has my huge 360 collection. I can't get to it right now because that's turned into the den for the dog recovering from surgery.
Wow.
So I'm gonna have to wait a little bit.
You heard him. Unsubscribe until he does it.
I put it on the Twitter today. Yeah. I was like, I will get to this as soon as I can get to that side of this room.
Oh, speaking of, so I went on Facebook Marketplace today, and in my collection of getting all of the Disney games that I can find, I am picking up a copy of Finding Nemo tomorrow for the original Xbox.
Hell yeah.
So
you're doing it.
I didn't even know they made that for the original Xbox.
Yeah, they definitely did.
Yeah.
There's probably some other ones too.
That's cool.
Yeah, I think what I'm going to do is, I got that convention coming out in July.
Yeah.
I think one day I'm going to just sit down and write out a list of all the games going from I want to say the 360, the PS3 to now. Or maybe even Xbox, PS2, PS3, PS4, all of that from there, so that I can have just a list of stuff I know I need to go through so I can start looking. Because that stuff can't be too expensive. I'm picking up Finding Nemo for $3 tomorrow.
I don't think any of this stuff held too much value for Disney stuff.
Yeah. I think I just want to do it just to do it. I think it'd be exciting.
Hey, man. I collect baseball games because I'm a lunatic. So.
There you
go. Our final email comes to us from Brant from Farmington Hills, Michigan. Says, howdy 572, quick question for you. As it seems like some/all of you are achievement/trophy hunters, or were at some point, I'm curious what are your most difficult games you completed for achievements trophies? And if you no longer hunt for completion, was there any game that broke you on it? No game broke me on it. What I'll tell you what it did for me was I got older and realized one day, man, why am I spending 80 hours collecting this stupid fucking thing to get a point?
Right.
A point for what? So at some point I changed my ideology from getting thousands and everything on the Xbox to, if I really fucking like this game, I will go for it. The last game I remember doing that for was Control. So for me now, it's just, I just play through the game as is. If I really enjoy it, I'll go back, get it that or the trophies the Horizon. I did it for that. Stuff like that. If I'm really enjoying having a good time, Days Gone's another good example of that.
You prefer when games have trophies that give you an excuse to do stuff you might not do. You know what I mean? To go through, do these side quests and get these certain collectibles and stuff that aren't outrageous. That isn't collect 400 of something. I
can tell you my most difficult.
Yeah, do it.
Guitar Hero Metallica Expert Plus drums. Because when that game came out, I was at that level of playing the drums on guitar, because the way that game worked for me and our friend Ross, as you know, we started with Guitar Hero, and then Rock Band came out, and it was kind of well, we can get this Rock Band game, seems pretty cool, but okay, we'll get Rock Band. One of us will play guitar. One of us will play bass. We went through, built up from medium up to expert. And then it became, okay, we're kind of tired of that. What if we went out and get this fucking drum set? What's the next level? And then it became that. And then it turned into that huge, you remember how big Rock Band 2 was and getting the DLC songs? There was that summer, I want to say it was summer of 2009, where if you bought Pepsi, every cap had a code that you can use to get a free song. And at the time I worked at a dollar store. So I bought a lot of shit Pepsi and got a lot of songs. But yeah, at that peak moment of Rock Band, and then like Guitar Hero Metallica hit right around that time, was like my peak of playing drums. And somehow I did that. So, but we were doing long, like 4 or 5 hour sessions of that fucking game. Like we were just destroying it. So, yeah, that I would say that is probably one of my most difficult and most challenging, was getting that. But I'm trying to think of other things that were like anything else that's more of just becomes a numbers game of like how many hours.
Some of them just become time sinks.
It's not a skill thing.
Right. Because I was trying to think of mine before so I used to be a big gamer score guy, and I would try to get thousands and a lot of stuff. And eventually I just kind of got, I don't necessarily say anything broke me, but I got kind of burnt out.
You get burned out and you get older and you realize like, why am I going to sit here and grind this for hours when
you got to do dumb shit you don't necessarily need to do, all that stuff. And then eventually when I became more of a PlayStation person, I am more into like platinums and stuff now, just because I feel like Gamerscore became kind of this arbitrary thing where the numbers don't necessarily line up with like how hard something is. And 1,000, not every game had 1,000, and it became 1,250 and 1,750, and the number stuff.
Odd numbers in there, and that pissed me off.
The number stuff just got really fucked. Whereas on PlayStation, platinums mean something, and it makes more sense. And like your trophy level is more of a tangible number. Nothing on PlayStation has broken me yet. Like Rebirth, I will do it at some point. I will. Just because I did the first one. I'm still not done with the first one because I still have to do that Weiss fight on hard, which is, I told you, it's like Dark Souls level type shit where he has certain attacks you have to read and do certain moves against, all while trying to like damage burn him down. I'm sure it's possible. It's just like I tried it a couple times and went, fuck it, I'm done for now. In terms of like stuff that was really hard that I've done, I've never thought of this one as hard, but I guess I get it from another standpoint because it was not hard for me. But so the game, The Witness, I have the platinum in that game. Yeah. And that's not necessarily like an impressive feat because you could just look up the solution to all of the puzzles and do it. Except the final puzzle in the game is kind of like a gauntlet run where you have to do like 7 or 8 of the puzzle styles from before in the game. Sure. In one run, like basically you start a record player and you haven't told a song is done to finish it. Those are randomized. So you cannot look up a solution. And it's not very long. You have to be paying attention and know how to solve all these puzzles. And one of them is a maze that changes every time and you have to run through it and remember. So is it a lot of trial and error? In theory, it should be. And I've read stories about people who just can't seem to finish it. I did it on my second try. So like it was never difficult for me. But if you look up stuff about that game, like it becomes that way. It's a great game. And that game is some of like the regular puzzles are insane when it comes to like figuring stuff out. I did all of it myself. But this final thing, I was prepared for it to be a nightmare. And I got it on second try. So I just got super lucky with how the game randomized my puzzles. Yeah. Or maybe just because I played a shitload of that game and did everything in it. But everything else comes down to like time sync. Like when I had that plus extra, that Warriors All-Stars was on there, which is like a Dynasty Warriors game, right? Where it's like a crossover, all that stuff. There is a trophy in that game, which is one of the rarer ones I have, where you have to. There's 2 trophies in that game that are insane because the game does not track them super well for you. Oh, yeah. And one of them is random. So one of them is like get an event with every character in the bathhouse. So like you'd pick to go to the bathhouse and you'd have to get a scene with somebody else, right? There's like 30 characters. Oh, and it's random. Oh, and even if you set it up to where your odds are better, it might not happen. And if you don't get it, you can't reset. You have to go play another battle and go back and try again. That alone took me days just because the game would not give it to me. And it was driving me insane. I was like, am I doing something wrong? At first, when I read it, I thought it meant get every interaction with everyone, which would have been unfathomable. Like that could not have been done.
Yeah.
But I got that one, and then the last one is see do every possible battle in that game. And that game is nothing but branching paths. And like, if you do something in this level, it might turn this thing off, and you can't ever see it again. And then you got to restart, and then you unlock a new character, and then you have to go to this other thing and beat this. Even with a guide, like showing me how things unlocked and where to go and how to do this, the game does not do a good enough job of telling you what you've done. I essentially had to replay almost everything in that game 3 times to figure out the last one I did. So like that's the kind of stuff in like trophy hunting and stuff that will break you.
I mean, the other thing that killed for me in the 360 era was anything that had multiplayer. That's tacked on shitty
always
multiplayer.
Been the worst.
Or when it was stupid shit like Gears 2 and 3 with their seriously, 2.0, 3.0 achievements where it's just like, this is dumb.
Only certain people are ever meant to get those. Remember Tiger Woods for Xbox 360, like the first one?
Was the one where somebody had to hold the trophy?
You had to be ranked like number 1 in the game.
The one I always think of was Fight Night Round 4, I want to say.
That was a bad one?
That was a bad one because it was the same thing where somebody had to physically hold that belt online.
There was
not gonna get that.
Remember the NBA Live one, the infamous one, where it's like be online with 1,000 people at the same time, but nobody bought the game?
Yeah.
So I actually have that trophy because before the servers were going to get turned off, there became this big like thing online where it's like, we're all going to be online this day from this time to this time, log in and just do it. And I actually got it.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. It's just, I like trophies because they do sometimes encourage me to do different things in games. But like Forespoken, this list isn't difficult. It just sucks.
It just sucks.
Do every monument, take every picture, do all this stuff. Like, thank God I don't have to open every treasure chest. If I had to open every treasure chest in this game, I would tell you right now, no.
I got a good one. I got a good one for you. Friend of the show, Ross. I'll tell you the game that broke him. You might know. I don't know if you know this story or not.
I know it is. Dead Rising.
You know what the game is? Dead Rising. The 7-day survivor. The way we had this set up, and you have to remember this was 360, so it's not like
it's like 2006.
Because I did it on the Xbox One version, but it's easy because if you want to, you can cheese it by just putting your system in rest mode when you're not playing.
It's not as punishable.
So it's not really that hard. Still a really fun and cool mode in that game though. But in the 360 day, you can do that. So your system was going to be on for like 17, 18 hours. So at the time he had 2 MacBooks. And we had cameras set up. So like he could walk away, go downstairs, have the camera set up so he'd see what's going on wherever he's hiding. So he goes downstairs to make a sandwich and he's at like maybe hour 14 or 15 and he's hidden in the theater of in the theater of that part of the mall. He's downstairs making a sandwich. Guy's back turned to the laptop, has the thing on there. You just hear a whack. Turns around, his character's fucking dead. After like hour 14 or 15. And I just remember the because like that game forever sat at 980 out of 1,000.
Yep.
And it was just saying like, I'm never going to do that.
Remember,
again.
I have Lost Odyssey at that level too, because at some point during the game, I missed the one missable item.
Mm-hmm.
And so while I love that game,
that's a bitch of a game.
I would love that game, and I would love to play it. I would love a remaster of that game. It would never happen.
I would love a remaster.
I would love it. I would never. I would have to replay the game entirely. And like what sucks. On a save I've already finished, 15 years ago. Like there's no way. I can't do that. I also really hate games where if you beat it on, you have to beat it on normal to unlock hard, and there's a trophy for each.
Mm-hmm.
Or ones where it's like if you beat it on hard, it doesn't count as beating it on normal. Like fuck off.
Yeah,
like, I did.
I was thinking of that 360 Star Ocean game, The Last Hope.
Brutal
game,
because the battle trophies for that, because so many of those things are random.
Yeah, anything that was randomized would be a bitch.
Yeah,
to get or do.
Most Final Fantasy games easy. It's I actually have a lot of achievements in Final Fantasy 11, which is super weird.
Because, like the 360 version?
Because I would I was able to play with my PC character. My PC character had been around for years.
So you could move them over.
So you would log into the 360 version and you would go to a specific NPC in one of two towns.
Okay.
And you would talk to them and they would have special dialogue where you would be like, oh, I've done this. And then you do that and you get the little blink. So I actually have like 600 out of 1,000 in Final Fantasy 11, which to contemplate that now is what it would take to get 1,000 is crazy. You had to basically level every job to max.
Yeah.
Which in 11,
I'm sure
14 not hard. Not hard to do. 11, it's fucking crazy. Yeah, and then, you know, shit gets turned off in games where like Final Fantasy 15. Online. Final Fantasy 15, you technically cannot get every trophy in that game because one of the DLCs is deactivated because they took it out and made it its own game. But those trophies still exist. There is technically a way to do it. I'd have to link my system to my computer and run it through a server to download an old patch and then unplug my system, and then I could get them. But like, my God. But I love trophies. Like, what was the last game I did where the one I'm working on right now is I'm finally going to do Power Wash Simulator because I had to do 5 gold challenges. I was struggling with that for so long. I only had one. And then yesterday I was like, we're going to give it a shot. I got 3 of them like right away. So I need one more.
That's not bad.
Yeah. So.
Oh, nice.
And some of those are hard.
I remember another good 360. Like there are definitely some where you could do like glitches and stuff to get the 1,000. I remember one that was broken for me was Wanted Weapons of Fate.
You could cheese the time attack.
Maybe. Yeah. I fucked that one up though, and that one just remained at like 9 something. I was like, I'm not going to play. Yeah, because you had to play through majority of the game to get to that point.
You had to beat. I'm
not going to do that again.
You had to beat the game first, and then what you could do is you could load the time attack thing, beat the first level, and I think it was something about like you immediately quit. Like it might even been something like quit weird, to the dash, and then you can load the last level. And it starts your timer from when the timer ended. I want to say so, yeah. Quote unquote beat the game in like 14 minutes.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah, there was a lot of wild stuff back in the 360 day.
Yeah.
That and there was ways you could get around certain things too. By the time you got to the Xbox One, the PS4, like you couldn't do a lot of that stuff anymore.
No.
So, and now, like I said, for me, it's just, you know, being older and stuff. It's just like, well, do I want to spend 20 more hours in this video game world picking up X, you know, amount of boxes for this? Right. No, not really. So, but if I like your game, or if it's giving me a reason to see something more, or like a game like Control where I wanted to read every fucking piece of information because it was all so fascinating. Yeah. So like even Alan Wake 2, like I did not get everything done in that game, but I picked up a majority of the stuff because it's the same way.
Right.
Like everything you're picking up in that game is just fascinating.
That's on my wish list for whenever it goes cheap.
I imagine this year, because I didn't put it in here for the news, but like it's clearly not selling at the level that they wanted it to.
It's like 20% off right now.
Not that it's going to affect making their next thing, because they did just confirm like one of they're starting like full production this summer of the Max Payne 1 and 2 remakes, and then the next thing after that is whatever this Control sequel is.
Good.
So, which is what I want.
That's what I want. Yeah.
That's what I want really bad. So, but as always, send your emails into podcast572@gmail.com. You know what? Send in games that broke you on achievements. I want to hear that.
That's a good.
Tell me a video game, like either achievement, trophy, whatever. Tell me what
it was
broke
like a single trophy that finally made you give up.
You were just like, I'm done with this. Broke your controller. Maybe it was Dark Souls.
That's great.
But yeah, I want to hear those stories. So I put out calls for stuff before. We'll see what we get. But as always, we'll be back in another 2 weeks for another episode of the podcast. Thank you for listening or watching.
Yes. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. Be safe.